It was one of the biggest breaches of the world. A lot of these slot machines are non-managed and they're unsecured, and that's the easiest way to get in. I'm surprised at like all these frauds, like how easy it is to do them. Nobody's really paying attention. What I do as a profession is incident response, digital forensics, and ransom negotiation. And what that is whenever there's a breach or a scam or something of the matter and someone is hurt or something of that and is extorted for X amount of money, go in there and help them out and figure out what happened.
Did you start, is this still for a government agency or did you start your own agency?
I have my own. It's called First Responder. And so basically what we do is we just show up, team of 41 guys, show up. If there's a breach, let's just look at the breach side, right? Let's say their hospital went down, a couple of thousand people, they went out of business or their patient data is gone, it's being sold on the dark web. We go track that down.
So how does that happen when you say that like it's not a big deal? Like that just happens all the time. Well, it probably does, but does. I'm saying like how does someone get access to that? To me, to get access to that means that I have to somehow or another get into the file room and grab the files or get access to the to their website or something. And how do you go about doing that?
Right. That's a good question. So a lot of times you'll see threat acting gangs, like all these people get together, whether they're nation state, like from Iran, China, Korea, or whatever. Or what they'll do is a bunch of gangsters will get together in the cyber community and say, hey, we need to go steal something. And what they do is they start doing door knocking, right? And essentially at the fundamental level is what ports are open, what networks are open, what servers are open, what computers are open. And they start scanning. Once they start scanning and seeing things that are open, then they try to get into the door, right? So imagine this house or this studio that we're in. Imagine it being like a window's open. And they say, okay, I'm going to jump in the window. I'm going to lay low. It's called a LOL, living off the land. They're just going to say, hey, can I sit in that chair for 6 months without Ricoh noticing, right? Or can I turn on the light? What does this light do? They start testing the different things here and there. How much noise could I make before somebody notices me? Usually it's about 6 to 18 months before anybody notices a threat actor or a ransom gang in their environment. Because remember, they got in there via stealing their credentials, right? Stealing passwords, password 123, right? Stealing grandma's information because she went on a medical portal website saying, hey, I need to enter this information. They just fake one of those, like a fake address, and they start capturing all that information. And they start running that information against the hospital's databases or environment, if you will. And at that point, they start getting into the environment of the hospital and see how far down the rabbit hole they can go. So if they get down to, let's just say, the big file room where all the medical patients' stuff is at, that's when they start pulling the information slowly but surely. And they usually do that over probably about a year's worth of time, right? This is a long pour. And so from there, once they data exfiltrate all the information, then they start encrypting everything because then it's useless. So you have to come back to me as a threat actor and say, decrypt my stuff. And that's when the ransom.
So you're saying ransomware. So, okay. So you're saying they're removing, so it's not like they're making copies. They're removing it. So now the hospital doesn't have access.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. So at that point, the hospital has nothing, or it's completely encrypted, or the copy that they have is unusable, right? And they pulled all their backups. Like they have no memory of anything else. So what happens is the hospital or the client will reach out to the threat actor and say, hey, look, can you help us out here? And they say, sure, no problem. I want $1 million. The $1 million, what they arrive to is based upon the value of the patient information. So Social Security, address, and a person's name usually goes for about $1.75 to $3, depending on what type of information it is. So you times that by 40,000 people's information, that's how they arrive at the value of it.
Have you ever Googled your name? With one quick search, I can find all of your information on very sketchy websites. Your phone number, your old addresses. Want to know how scammers get your information? This is it. And that's why today's video is sponsored by Aura. There are companies called data brokers that take your personal information without asking and sell it to anyone, marketers, scammers, even stalkers. That's why your phone blows up with spam and weird texts. And if you want to get your information removed, they make it really hard on purpose. But Aura does this for you automatically. and they keep it off. Aura is not just for data removal. It helps me protect my whole digital life. They also give you a VPN to keep your internet private, a password manager to keep your login safe, antivirus software to stop hackers, data broker removal so companies stop selling your information, and $5 million in identity theft insurance just in case. It's like locking every door in your digital house. Go to aura.com/Matt to try Aura for free for 14 days. You'll see exactly where your information is being sold. I'm not leaving myself wide open. You shouldn't either. Once again, that's aura.com/Matt for a free 14-day trial.
And so from there, that's when they say, hey, I want my extortion, my money, right?
Right.
So a lot of times, a lot of hospitals, they're not equipped for that. They're not. The FBI, love the Secret Service, work with them quite a bit. They're not going to do much for you.
Right.
Yeah, they're not going to pay you. They're not going to go get your money back either. I hate saying that. They might do a stop on an e-wallet, but they're not going to do it. So what happens is they call somebody like us, right? First responder Ricoh. They'll say, hey, man, can you go over here, talk to this threat actor? And depends who it is, depends on how unscrupulous they are. Like some of them put you in double jeopardy.
I mean, I'm assuming if this is, you're unscrupulous, to the max, right? Or you say, no, sometimes they'll pay you. If you pay them, they really won't do anything.
Yeah.
Because I would think you might pay them and then they might still go ahead and sell your information.
So both, right? So there are some threat actor groups. Let's just say B and Liam. B and Liam is a Chinese organization, right? And I know it's a really odd name, right? But what they'll do is they'll say, hey, if you pay us $1 million, we will give you the decryption key. There's honor amongst thieves here, right? Mm-hmm. What happens is one threat actor gets pissed off and is like, hey, you didn't pay me my cut, right? Because each phase of the threat acting gang or each phase of the breach, you get paid, right? So they're like, hey, dude, I didn't get paid. So then the thing called double jeopardy, right? They'll say, well, I'm going to give you the encryption key, but only part of it. Or I'm going to encrypt only a certain amount of it. Now you got to pay me more. And then when you decrypt it, I'm going to come right back and recrypt it again. Then you got to pay me again. So there's this levels of honor amongst thieves because there are surprisingly good threat actors, mm-hmm. right? And then there are just ones that are just downright dirty. Like they'll just do it. By the time you're already paid or you're not going to pay, it's already for sale and it's on the dark web somewhere.
Well, I was going to say they might be. It might work to their advantage to actually decrypt it and not resell the information because that way they can always say, okay, listen, whatever, St. Michael's, hospital, where you can say, hey, listen, we'll pay you. Well, how do we know you're going to keep your word? You go, well, call St. John's Hospital and you can call such and such, AMC Casino. We did this to them last year. You can call, here's the people's names. You can look them up. You can call them. They'll tell you. They've never had a problem since. If that's the case, then they might be like,
that's true.
Make a couple calls and be like, hey, damn, I'll give you the $500,000 or $1 million or whatever it is.
So on the scorecard, so the way we rate these individual threat acting gangs, it's like, and what affiliate you're dealing with. They'll be like, hey, is B and Liam more than likely to, if we pay, what is the rate of probability that they'll honor it? And they're like, yeah, they're pretty good about it. Mm-hmm. They might come back in 6 months, and try to screw you up again. But this one over here versus, Mystic Snow Leopard or somebody else or the Russian Strutsku, right? Fancy Bear, like they're unscrupulous. They're like, yeah, we're going to take your hospital down and we're going to take it down. We're going to sell it, all the data. And on top of that, we're going to cause more and more damage. We're going to come back and hit you even harder. And that's where you have to delineate who you're dealing with, right? Because whenever you're dealing with a threat acting group or a ransom gang, remember, this is $1 billion business to them, right? And so I have a theory about that if you ask me.
Right. What?
I think I think the United States government created ransomware, and it's such a big industry now that it's too big to fail.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I think. I mean,
so you mean that the United States government is involved in it themselves?
I think much like the CIA was a long time ago with some other stuff. I think this spawned from
or like the Chinese. The Chinese have like a whole wing that does this, don't they?
Yeah.
And the North Koreans.
North Koreans are pretty good about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that a portion of their a large portion of their revenue are illegal businesses in other countries? And I mean, that's what my understanding is that they have like stores and they sell products and stuff in different African countries and different where they actually bring their own citizens over there to work like stores and stuff to make money and to do things like sell what is it, the super note?
Yeah.
They have a super note, and they've got, and I know that well, at least I know that crypto scams is a part of their thing, because there was that big crypto.
Yeah.
I forget the name of it. If you said it, I remember. They sold like, it was ridiculous. It was like $80 million in crypto or something. Was that the Chinese, or was that the Chinese? That was the Chinese, not the.
Yeah, North Koreans are really good about intellectual property theft.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're really good about sending plants like, hey, my daughter's 18.
Right.
We'll send them over here. We'll send them to University of Stanford or whatever. We'll pay for everything. We want you to go work in this specific electronic medical company, and we want you to be there as much as you, and we'll make it so to where you cannot leave, right? And then they start exfiltrating IP, intellectual property. And then at that point, they extort the company, right?
Right.
So the Chinese and North Koreans are more so aligned like that versus ideologic type deal. That's the more of the Arab Brotherhood ransom gang. They're more ideologic based, what you're talking about. But yeah,
I was thinking that I had heard. I want to know if it was either the Chinese or the North Koreans, where they were getting their citizen or their whatever, their agents or whatever, hired by American companies remotely, not realizing that, they think this guy is in South Korea, or they think he's in, whatever, Malaysia or somewhere like that. And they don't realize that he's a North Korean, and he's worked there for like 18 months or a year. And eventually he has total access to everything.
Yeah.
And I'd seen something where they were talking to maybe I read an article where the owner or one of the top managers was like, listen, he was the best employee.
Yeah.
He was amazing. Like they know everybody, they had nothing but good things to say about him.
Yeah. They're punctual. They show up on time.
Right.
They do the damn job. Yeah. That is very,
so double dipping too.
Exactly. The remote work, there's so many remote work scams going on right now, which I hate saying this, but I thoroughly enjoy, because you see how well these guys have cultivated a pseudo personality. Like even as a ransom negotiator ourselves, we have to have personalities we have had to develop for 11 years, right? So we have this fake persona. And we're like, hey, this is who we are. Same thing as the premise applies with them, right? And the fact that they can get so far down the rabbit hole, so far down servers, payroll systems, human resources stuff, it's pretty exciting to see how well they do with so little that they have.
Mm-hmm. So what happens with the hospitals? I mean, with a hospital like this, you eventually just do you have an example of one of these cases, or?
Yeah. So I'll give you a walking one, right? This was in 2023, not 2003. Jesus, that's a while ago. 2023. I was sitting there with my wife, and I was like, hey, honey, nice little Sunday, just hanging out, BSing. And she's like, hey, let's get some coffee. Cool, no problem. And I get in the car, and she's like, hey, you got a phone call. And it's this guy named Scott Ottenbaum. If you don't know who he is, I highly recommend it. He's a former FBI field desk agent and did technology crimes in Nashville, right? Super nice guy. And he's like, in the funniest New York accent, like, hey, what are you doing? Where you at? And I was like, hey, what's going on, man? And he goes, so I got a client for you. You need to talk to the CEO now. And I'm like, all right, so we're on the way to Nashville. I'm like, all right, let me take this call. So I get on the call, and next thing you know, this CEO is just yelling at me. And he's like, get your ass down here right fucking now. And I'm like, whoa, guy, who are you? What's going on? He's like, the whole hospital is down. And I'm like, I've seen down hospitals before, but not like down. I'm like,
not
like
right,
non-functioning, right? That happened here in Jacksonville too, another one I'll tell you about. So it's all right, cool. Let me do this. Let me have breakfast with my. He's like, no, you don't understand. You need to get your ass down here now. And I'm like, all right, so it's in the middle of Tennessee, and I'm in Nashville, so it's an hour and a half drive. And I said, all right, let me wrap up my wife, love her to death. I'm like, hey, honey, let's get you some coffee. Let's get you some breakfast. Cool. Call my partner. I'm like, hey, send him a statement of work. And usually those take about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Come back in 5 minutes. And I'm like, all right, no stipulations, no red line, no nothing. I'm like, okay, we got a problem.
Right. These guys are terrified. Yeah. Something's happening.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, with a wire transfer, he's like, I got cash. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So, these are $100,000 a week of jobs, right? All right, cool, no problem. So I call my bud. I'm like, hey, man, I'm going to go down there right now. I'm going to see what's going on because something's awry. So I show up at the hospital, and I remember looking at it. I'm like, I've never seen a lifeless hospital. Like, no life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And out the side access door comes this guy, and he's like, hey, are you Ricoh? I'm like, I am. He goes, yeah, got an interesting one for you. I'm like, who are you? And he was like, well, I'm the IT guy. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right. We're not the guy I wanted to see, but okay. So I go in, AC's not on, no electricity. And I'm like, okay, this is really, really weird. So I go upstairs, sit in the conference room, and there's this big CEO, we'll just call him Jay, and he's just fucking yelling. He's like, you better get this shit undone, blah, blah. And there's a Secret Service guy, and I think an FBI guy. And they're like, I was like, oh, hey, what's up, guys? Good to see you. And they're like, hey, what's up, Ricoh? What's going on? I was like, so what are we talking about? He's like, well, the whole fucking hospital's down. I'm like, okay, I got it. But we need to start from square one. What happened? So in the process, we're working this deal, and the Secret Service guy and I we're exchanging this thing called IOCs, right? Indicators of compromise of how the compromise may have happened. And we see a specific user, like an admin user, which is like the guy who holds the keys of the kingdom, right?
Right.
Cool. And he's like, hey, this thing is compromised. Like the password's in the wild. It's open to the universe. Like this is not good. Like the computer, their servers, everything, the firewall was completely open. All right. So we sat down with him. We started doing some log stuff, like collecting evidence. And in that process, we spent about a week and a half on site, building their whole network back up together, building different things, redeploying like 1,500 computers at one time, which is a lot, right? And then bringing this hospital kind of back to life. We get the threat actor on the outside, which means we were able to find out where they were within the systems, within the files and whatnot, and kick them out.
Right, kind of lock them out so they can't re-access, so that they can't start undoing the corrections that you're making.
Exactly.
Did they ever ask for any money?
Well, this is where it gets kicker, right? So they're like, hey, man.
I was like, what I'm saying? Like, what's the fucking goal of this? Are you a bunch of kids?
No, you'll be surprised. There are those things called script kiddies where they just kind of screw around and see how far they can get, but those are amateurs.
Right.
So the threat actor was like, okay, cool. You must be the IR firm. And I'm like, I don't say anything because you don't want to give out that card, right?
Right.
So I'm like, all right, cool. And he's like, cool, no problem. Then he starts calling the office. He's like, hey, I want to talk to the IR guy. And I was like, all right. Guy gets on the phone, super, super, like very, very Asian accent. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? He's like, I want $1 million. And I said, well, how did you arrive at that? And at this point, we're in a negotiation, right? Mm-hmm. We're sitting down, phone's on, Secret Service there, CEO, CFO. And I put him on mute, and he's like, do we have any data? I was like, you guys have nothing. Like, it's gone, man. And the stuff you do have is completely useless. And he's like, how much will he take? I'm like, you don't want to do this. Like, you don't want to do this. The Secret Service is going to tell you, do not do this. FBI is completely against this. And he's like,
paying?
Yeah, paying.
Oh, or I was going to say, or negotiating.
Well, there's always negotiation, right? And one of the things there's ways of paying, ways not to pay, right? So we get to the point where like, all right, well, we negotiate down about 3.5 hours of negotiation of like, hey, fuck you, fuck me, whatever.
Right.
What do you want? What are you willing to take around? He's like, I'll take $100,000. And he's like, God damn it, put on the company credit card. I'm like, that's not the way it works, man. So you have to create a thing called a tumbler, right? A tumbler wallet. It's much like money laundering, right? Mm-hmm. So what you do is you get a wallet, and then you have a Romanian-based wallet or Algerian or Romanian-based wallet, or the another one over there in Ukraine, and you transfer money to that one because you never want to pay directly from your wallet because they're going to compromise that.
Okay.
So at this point, you're like, all right, so we're going to fund this. FBI and Secret Service like, don't do that because you're about to pay an OFAC nation, a sanctioned state, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not good. Your insurance is going to be pissed off too. They make the payment. They're like, hey, we're going to make the payment. Cool, no problem. Remember that bit I told you about, like they're unscrupulous? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they just show up again and they're like, we'll give you part of the key. Now we want the rest of the money. And at that point, you're like, dude, come on.
We agreed to $100,000.
Yeah, and they're like, well, that's what you agreed to with this affiliate over here. We're a different affiliate.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
How much do you guys want? $100,000. So we give them $100,000 for the other part of the key. Cool. They only decrypted so much of the files. And now you got to go back and be like, all right, so these guys are just complete assholes, right? Like they're not working with us. How far can we go back to recover? Because you have 4,000 patients their data is out there now. Now you have to do remedy around that. So
Don't you have to notify everybody also that it's been compromised? Okay. Which they don't want to do. That's embarrassing.
Oh, that's hugely embarrassing and very costly. Because you have to provide credit monitoring to 4,000 people for 3 years minimum.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so that's what, $35 a person per month. You do the math, right? And then I hate saying this, I've been in the legal field myself. Like, then you get the damn legal attorney fees that are completely useless there. They're like, well, you should notify them. Like, well, no shit, we know that, right? So you start doing these things, and you get like, the breach itself is going to cost anywhere from like $1.5 million to $2 million just in fees and services you're going to have to do. Then you have to pay the threat actors, right? So all in all, I mean, it was about a $2 million breach, and that's kind of the hard part around that it's a no-win game.
Well, did they eventually? You so far you've paid $200,000, and you said you still haven't got everything back.
We got to a certain point.
Did you get to a certain point where you just said, "Fuck it, we're not paying anymore. You're going to keep doing this." So.
Yeah. So there comes a thing of it's called RTO, recovery point of objection, recovery time of objection. Like, how far back can we go, and at what point can we go? And you have to make a decision as a business owner or even a CEO or whatever, right? And you say, hey, we can go back to last month's data and be okay with that. And they're like, all right, cool, let's just do that. We'll take the hit, no problem. Because I think what's going to happen is they already paid $200,000 in ransom. And I think what's going to happen is they're going to ask for another $200,000 or $300,000. At that point, you're scaling up to $1 million. You might as well take that money and just put it back to do what's right,
Right. Well, I was going to say, and then of course you're incentivizing them to come back again because they know you'll pay.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. You're just incentivized. I was going to say if you paid them and thought they'd go away, but I don't see that anybody's
they never
just
go
gonna
away.
They're just not going to go away.
They never go away.
I don't see anybody's going to do.
Yeah, what happens? Like after the breach happens, right? After the money's paid them and whatnot, then the FBI tries to track them down, and it's always like some Serbian-based dudes in the middle of nowhere, and they're just like, especially during the winter.
Well, even if you found them, they're not giving up their citizens to the U.S., right? Like, don't you have to kind of go in and grab them and bring them back? Like they're like the cops there aren't going to, it's so. I only from obviously being locked up is that. Whenever people talked about me being on the run and I had passports and everything, there was like, why didn't you go to another country? And I used to think about Scott Pritchard, which was Scott Pritchard and Naomi. I'm sure I'm butchering her name, but her last name was Nova. Or was her first name Nova? Anyway, they were bank robbers, and they had fled to South Africa. I want to say during apartheid.
Whoa.
And they'd robbed a bunch of banks and nobody. And so the South Africans are not extradited. There was no extradition treaty. And the FBI, it turns out that basically a U.S. citizen had actually come back to the United States. And this is back when they had wanted posters and saw a wanted poster and was like, that was my waitress. Told the FBI sent some guys down there, watched her, got a hold of her fingerprints, ran the prints, found out, okay, definitely her. Watched her for a few days. And they're doing all of this in South Africa.
Yeah.
South Africans have no idea.
Yeah.
Realize she's going back and forth to her apartment where they realize that Scott is. And they watch the apartment one day, and one day when they realize she's coming home, she's going to go in. When she goes in, he typically meets her at the door. At the very least, she opens the door. We feel like we can
squeeze right in.
We can get in there. They called the local police station and said, we're the FBI. There's a dozen of us. We're going into the apartment. We're taking it. Do not have any police cars in this general area. This is two of our citizens. We have warrants. We're taking them. They said, thank you for calling. And they stayed out. Like they rushed in, grabbed them, threw black bags over their head, threw them into a van, drove them to the airport, threw them onto an FBI jet, and flew them out of South Africa. There was no, so you know what I'm saying? There was no extradition. Like extradition is when the local cops will grab you for them and then go through their court system, bring them to you. But no country's really going to give a shit if you come and get your own fucking citizens. So I knew that going into prison. And then when I went into prison, I would meet these guys that had been in their own country that had been essentially kidnapped. So let's say you're a huge drug smuggler, whatever, cartel member, whatever, and they know where you live and you've been indicted and the opportunity arises where and usually they don't even know that it's a government agency, right? So they think it's a private security firm. Well, they don't even really know that. To be honest, I don't think, and other people don't think, and one of them would be like Frank Amadeo, like these guys, like they didn't think that the U.S. government did it, but it's more like it was a contract, and a contracting company finds out where the guy is, watches him for a while, and then one day learns his routine. The guy goes and gets, he goes and gets a latte every morning at the cafe, and so they just boom, they throw back black bag over his head, they tase him, throw him in a van, drive him to the airport, put him on a plane, fly him out. And so I would meet these guys after they got 20 or 30 years in. Oh, and then the other funny thing is too, they'd say they were screaming, hollering the whole time, like I'm a Colombian citizen. You can't do this. They'd bring them back to the United States, get them in front of the judge. They'd scream in front of the judge, like, I'm a Colombian citizen. These guys just kidnapped me. And the judges would be like, well, look, I don't know anything about that, but you are indicted and you are here. So, and then they'd move forward. And they'd complain the whole time. There was nothing they could. And of course, their lawyer's like, okay, well, all I know is that you were delivered on U.S. soil and you got picked up by the DEA. And the DEA is saying that they got a phone call and that they picked you up. They're not admitting to running an operation in another country. And that's why we had always kind of assumed or figured that it was some kind of a private entity. Maybe it was the United States government, or maybe it was a contracting company. I don't know. Anyway, they get them here. Then they get prosecuted. They get 20 or 30 years. They end up at Coleman, and then we'd beat them, and they'd be like, I was in my own country. Yeah. So if they're going to do that, if they're willing to go in, the U.S. government's willing to go in or pay someone to go in and grab people in other countries and bring them, and we know that they'll grab them themselves in another country if they're their own citizens. Like, there was no place safe for me to go.
No.
In another country and get that where I wasn't going to get grabbed. I would have had to have gone and lived as another person and then been able to skate under the radar. And at the time when I was on the run, I always thought to myself, I could do it. But now looking back on it, I realize I would have never been able to go 20 years, the rest of 30, 40, 50 years, the rest of my life without showing up on the radar at some point. Technology, at the very least, would have caught up with me at some point. Oh, yeah. Even with a U.S. passport or anything, at some point, it would have, I guess maybe Cambodia. If I would have liked Cambodia.
No, you have to go further
really?
than that, man.
Further than, I don't want to go further than Cambodia.
Like Chad or like Cameroon.
I'm not doing that. Yeah. I'd
Especially
rather do my time in prison. I'll go to Coleman.
Like you'd be able to get away. I would say a good 10 years. I think you would have been able to get away. But after that, you would have been just exhausted. You're like, fuck, I'm going to go.
Yeah, at some point, it's...
When you talk about the guys who go pick up people, that's what we did, for a very long time. I did that for a very, very long time. You get the op order, you get your con op, and you're like, all right, doesn't matter what our agency is, who's our guy, who's our target.
Right.
And we just sit there for a month, just watch them, hang out, and be like, all right, time to snatch and grab them. Where do we drop them off at? Some shitty airport and runway. Just put them on the C-130, get them going, and then hand them over to, guys in Hawaiian shirts.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
And then a check gets cut.
Usually, so operator pays about $1,000 a day, so you get paid $30,000 a month.
I need more than that. Like, bro, I'm in another kind. This could go bad.
Then also on top of that, you have hazard pay. Then you have your expectancy pay, which is like, so depending on certain operations, if you're burning like an opium field or whatever, you have 14 days of life expectancy. That means they're expecting to live for only 14 days.
Right.
If you make it past that, then game on, you get more money. Right. So very much like Mercenary of the Year, like what is it, Universal Soldier type shit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It's still very real. So whenever you tell me these things, I'm like, yeah, that checks out. Because
it's I don't know. It seems so. It seems like it's like in a Rambo movie or something. But those things are based in
it's very real.
The Rambo, but
so whenever
he killed 400, he'll kill 400 guys with a buck knife.
Bayonet.
Yeah, but
mud on his face.
Yeah.
One of the things I always look at is like, okay, so one of the questions that clients will ask is like, okay, Rico, are you going to go get this guy or whoever did this, like took our money or whatever? There are services where you pay, but like, dude, you're going to pay another $1 million just for a small team, helicopter, diplomatic passports, weaponry, and then bribes. Bribes are big. Like to get into the countries is a pain in the ass. And then to snatch somebody like a human being, you're going to snatch them, like who's doing cyber crimes. Like that it's very hard to do, but there are services to do it though.
Right.
You can actually absolutely snatch somebody up very easily, but it takes a lot more effort, right?
It would it would determine whether I was going to go someplace, what country it was. Like I'm not gonna sneak into Russia and grab somebody. But if it was some side former, if it's Chechnya or something where you could get right on a boat, off the dock, or if it was something like some South American country where they're, where you could basically, if you got caught, you could pull out a few $1,000s and probably bribe somebody and walk away. If it was, I would. There are some countries that's like, oh no, I wouldn't go in and grab anybody there because it could go so badly.
Oh yeah.
And if they grab you, if you're in North Korea and they grab you, you're in their country. I don't even know if you're going to be walk down the street in North Korea.
Oh,
but,
they'll just kill you right there.
Yeah. And and it's such a police state. Like some places, like the police are such a minority, you can really probably, you could probably operate for a long period of time and really have no communication or contact with the police. But at some point you grab up somebody and you got to get to an airport and you don't want to be running in, you don't want to run into a roadblock or anything like that.
I think if you had to do that, I think Haiti would be one of your spots. Even though the economy has collapsed, you can still bribe your way through there. Very easily. Absolutely.
Haiti, though, I was going to say it's basically run by a gang at this point, by the gangs. Or
there's I think like 4 different gangs running the whole country right now.
It might be even worse. It might be even worse.
You might get shot and just left in the street.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of how it rolls. So we're talking about the Middle State, Tennessee breach, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, there's another one, but do you want to stick on the rent? Go ahead.
Well, what I'm saying, so the Tennessee one where you finally got to a point where you went back a month or so, you get everything back. It's going to spend they're going to spend millions. I mean, do you have any successful? I mean, that probably is a success. You really have to.
So there was
to me a success is you went in and you kicked the guy out and you recovered all the stuff and you didn't pay anybody.
Here.
Yeah. What here?
Here in Jacksonville.
Oh, okay.
So there was a very small county hospital. I'll never forget it. Sweet old lady called me up. Her name was Tiff. She's like, "Hey, Rico, I got your name." And I'm like, "Oh, how'd you get my name? Like, people just don't call me. Like, I'm not that guy. What can I do for you, man?" And she's like, "I need you to come down to Jacksonville. Your name was given me by a company called Troll Eye. They do penetration testing." I'm like, "Perfect, no problem." So I show up. I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" She's the sweetest lady. I go, "Okay, what's going on?" She's like, "I don't know what's going on. Something about a note on the computers." And I go, "Okay." And our MRI machine, it just don't work. And I go, "Oh, well, where's your MRI machine?" And so you ever seen the semi trucks with MRI machines?
Yeah.
Yeah. So imagine that being useless, just a brick. And I go, okay.
So all of these things are tied into the computer system. They're not separate.
No. Remember, everything has to call back to a centralized nervous system, like a computer, server room, something like, imagine a transmission engine, right? They all work in conjunction together.
Yeah.
Okay. So I show up and she's like, "I just don't know, honey. Can you just help me out?" I'm like, "Yeah, you got it, ma'am." So I sit down at her computer and I'm like, oh my God, like all it says is just read me in a little file. And I open that thing up and I'm like, "Well, got some good news and bad news. The computer still works, right? Can I go in your server room and everything else?" She's like, "Yeah, I got a few appointments that are showing up." And mind you, this is like the only hospital in this rural area that serves the elderly. And it's like, okay.
How small is this hospital that this woman's running it?
Oh, well, she was a CEO. So she was like, I want to say like less than 50 beds.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a county hospital, right? Sit down with her. I'm like, "I got you. No problem." And I'm like, oh shit, this is bad. Like, this is really bad. Like, this README file, which is the ransom note that has encrypted everything, is everywhere, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. Let me see what's up. I read the note. It says, the threat actor says, "Reach out to me on this." Usually, whenever there's a string and it's like Tor or something like that, you can determine whether the experience level or the maturity level of a threat actor, right? If it's a Tor, they're pretty sophisticated. But if it's like a WhatsApp, then you're like, all right, this guy's a fucking idiot, right? So it's like there's a WhatsApp number and a Tor. And I'm like, all right, get them on the Tor. I'm like, "How can I help you?" Like, "I want $20 million. I'm like, "Bro, this building ain't even worth that right now. So I have all your data." I'm like, we'll see about that. So I spent some time with the IT team and I'm like, "Hey guys, where's your backups? Let's take a look here. And my guys are doing the analysis, right? And they're trying to figure out where this person is. We figured out the guy was from India, right? We figured out what street he lives on, and we're able to figure out who his parents are. So
I'm going to call your mother.
yeah, exactly. We call the cops, we call Interpol. Interpol is like, well, we'll go over there and check it out, right? Cool, no problem. In the meantime, thank God somebody has some wherewithal. This little stupid backup. It was already maxed out, overheating. They're like, I think this is it right here.
Right.
I was like, all right, man, let's go take a look. I'm like, oh, thank God. It just backed up yesterday. I'm like, cool. It was a couple of days ago. I'm like, perfect. So I'm like, we're not paying. And he's like, fuck you, motherfucker. I'm like, oh, that's not good customer service, buddy. And
you got to do the Indian accent. Oh, fuck you, motherfucker.
Fuck you, fuck mothers. Because they can't put the shit together. You know what I'm saying? The best one was dealing with a Indian guy from Chennai. He's like, sons of mothers of bitches. And I'm just I was like, yeah, sure, man. So I was like, sure. Let's get on the chat, man. Let's do it. And he's like, all right. No. I was like, do me a favor. Can you get on camera with me? And this is when you know this is how fucking junior they are, right?
Right.
And he's like, fine, I'll show you who I am. I'm like, perfect. This is what I want to see. Start recording it. Get in touch with the FBI. And they're like, man, how the hell did you con him to get on camera? And I'm like, I don't know. I just asked. And he's like, all right, cool. So the good thing about this is that Tiff was ready to pay. She was like, how much do they want? I'm like, we're not paying a fucking dime.
Right.
So she was like, how much to get us back up and going? I was like, as a matter of fact, other than me being here or us being here, like, it's not going to cost you anything. Like, maybe $10,000. Like, you guys are a small hospital. You guys don't do $100 million in revenue.
Right.
Let's check it out. So we were able to put her stuff back up, reconfigure her stuff, and bring that MRI machine back to life, right? Because factory reset work with Samsung, all that good stuff. And the successful story is like people got care within a week, which is awesome, right? But
it seems horrible that they're down a week.
Dude, have you seen some of the bigger ones like Change Health?
Mm-mm.
Oh, buddy.
They're down for like what, weeks or months?
That company's gone.
Really?
It was one of the biggest healthcare pharmacy breaches of the world's history. It happened in Nashville. And they got hit because they never did the basic things to put things together, like the basic security, so like passwords.
Is that what's happening? Is that why the hospitals, because I'm just noticing you've got a lot of hospital examples. Yeah. The hospitals are thinking that they're not targets, or they don't have the. I mean, hospitals have money.
Yeah, they do, but remember, it goes to patient first, and also it goes to the doctors.
Right.
It has nothing to do with infrastructure. If they can get away with a minimal infrastructure, that's what they'll do.
Well, it seems like that's catching up with them.
Now, by law, it is. So what happens is they'll say, well, we'll go ahead and roadmap that. We're not going to fund IT security. You got to understand, like, less than 1% of a budget is dedicated to security. Dude, that does nothing for anybody.
Especially for something that could cripple your entire, or take you, well, like you just said, just not cripple it, but just put you out of business completely.
Yeah, so what happened with Change Health, this very, very sophisticated, this happened over a year, right? Basically, they took down their whole system, 100%, and now all these other huge organizations like United Health, Mercy, whatever, right? They can't work. And now you have a point of breach that has affected all these other places now. And I think they wound up paying about $22 million in a ransom payment. And it was like pretty bad. And they're still not in business right now. And it screwed the whole world up right now.
Are all of these hospitals?
Well, some of them are universities. The university, that was an interesting one. So there was a Middle Missouri University that got hit up, right? And they want to call. This actually started off as a due diligence, like, hey, we see something fishy, we just can't put our finger on it. Can you come to Middle Missouri? Have you been to Middle Missouri?
No, okay, who has?
Exactly.
Missourians, right? Like,
I remember seeing like this big super. I was like, this is the town of fucking Superman. No shit. And I'm like, all right, cool. And they were like, hey, you got to do two things while you're here. One, be mindful of the tornadoes. And I'm like, okay, that's a thing here. And they're like, and you got to go to this place and get this chicken wings. And I'm like, well, I'm not here for that. I'm cool, no problem. And I go there and I sit down with the CEO or the president of the university and the IT team and the security team. And they're like, we think something's going on. And I'm like, okay, let's go see. We saw one of our alerts kicked off. And I was like, all right, let's go take a look, boys. So we sit there and I'm there for like a week and a half in the middle of fucking Missouri, right? And come to find out that they were not appropriately given money to do the right thing for security. So they just had a bunch of just shit. Like, hey, we have a house alarm here, we have a car alarm here, and like it just hodgepodge together, right? So upon discovery, we see like, hey, dude, somebody's in here. Somebody's in it. It's the Russian Strutsku, which is like Fancy Bear, right? Which is that's the threat acting name game.
These names. They have to come up with scarier names. Not paying Fancy Bear.
Fancy Bear, man.
I don't care what's happening to my company. Fancy Bear's not getting a check.
So like, we see it's like, okay, so this is a Russian nation state threat. This is the government of Russia is here. So we're working with them, and we see the threat actor moving from computer to computer, and he's good. They are good, right? And I'm like, man, this person, like, very smooth, not sounding enough alarms, moving left and right, compromising credentials, increasing their permissions and privileges. I'm like, okay, so they made a call. They're like, we're just going to take the network. We're going to take it completely down. And I'm like, you're going to take a university down.
So you mean the university is going to take it down,
Yep.
or the
university?
Okay, they're saying we're just going to take it down.
So that's like a bad worst case scenario. Bad worst case, good case scenario. The good thing is it's going to go down. The bad thing is everyone's about to find out here real soon how bad it is. And this university was a pinnacle of the town. And
Okay.
you're like, okay, so like you are a provider of the internet to the town, and you're going to take the whole thing down. He's like, yes. I'm like, I'm not making that call. That's you, pal. So they took it down, and I was like, oh, shit. And sure as shit, man, the news shows up. Cops show up, and I'm like, all right. They're like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, well, we have this thing on. And then the local cops are like, what are you talking about? So I'm like, what does that even mean? I'm like, we don't do those things here. I'm like, no. It's like
They do in Russia.
Yeah. And so at the end of the day, it was a matter of them just not being able to have the right ability to defend themselves. After we took the network down, after we took the whole ISP down, we brought it back up. And we're able to, at that point, get the threat act on the outside. Again, like push them on the outside, right? But the problem is they actually had a bunch of call centers. So they just started doing all these automated phone calls throughout the whole city, just calling people, and text messages, pay me money, and to everybody. And it was hundreds of thousands of phone numbers, right? And it's really easy to do to kind of do a Lambda function, which is like, do this on the hour, every hour, just text them.
Right.
And they were doing it through the whole city, boom, 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 boom. And after a while, they're like, hey, we got to pay these guys to stop. Just to stop that, I'm like, they're not in the business of that. They want their money. Like, this is the Russia government.
Right.
They don't screw around. Eventually, they just kind of go away. But they want to come back. I know they want to come back.
Right.
No payment was made. And they kind of just fizzled out slowly. The sad part about this, the sad part about this is that university is exactly where they are today, with no investment in security, no nothing. And that's one of those stories of nothing good happened, nothing bad happened. And it's just a big nothing sandwich right there.
So what do? They took the system down, they put the system back up, they reset everything, put it back up.
So
they're just subject to being hacked again.
Yeah, exactly. So whenever you take something down and you bring it back up, everything's going to update, right? Everything's going to go back to a newer version, a more secure version. Mm-hmm. But the problem is every Tuesday or every Wednesday, something new gets. If nobody's monitoring that, nobody's taking care of that, nobody's taking care of your car outside, right? Adding oil, like it's just going to blow up at some point.
When these guys are going in and I understand they're shutting it down. And we talked about earlier where you said they were getting the information, right?
Yeah.
So and I'm obviously probably I'm wrong, but initially what I thought was happening was if I go online and I fill out an application, right? Name, date of birth, address, everything. Then when it gets to the social security number and I type in my social security number and then it whatever, it's all X's and everything. What is that to me? I was thinking, okay, the people on the other end and the administrative end, they understand, they know what my social security number is. But then there was other times I've thought, well, wait a minute, maybe it's some kind of an encryption or something nobody knows and only the computer knows or whatever the reason is. So what I'm wondering is if they get into these, let's say a hospital or a doctor's office or something, are they able to, and you're saying they get your information, are they able to get my social security number?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
which of course is the only real, that's not the only thing, but without your social security number, a lot of the other information is really no good. If you have the, I'm saying not.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm not saying you can't do something with it, but you're not necessarily going to be able to take out a loan or get a credit card without your social. You'd have to use that information to then get the information, which I'm sure you could take that information and eventually find the social security number somewhere else. Possibly.
Oh, absolutely. On the dark web, absolutely.
So
when you were talking about that, right?
Yeah.
So let's just say the hospital let's say the healthcare firm owns the thing that you're entering your social security into, right? Mm-hmm. It is their responsibility to make sure that it gets hexed out. But in that hexing, right, where it kind of does asterisks of your social security, there is a formula, there's a configuration in there that says, hey, if you reverse this, you'll show all of it. Mm-hmm. And it's not hard to figure that out. If you're, and I don't mean that in a layman's terms of like I hate saying this, but like a plumber, right? He's not going to be able to figure that out. Mm-hmm. But if somebody who does this for a decent living for like 5 years, they're going to figure it out.
Right.
It's not hard.
I heard casinos have issues.
You are correct.
Well, how does that work?
Okay, so
and do casinos have your information?
Oh man,
I don't know. I don't gamble, so I don't.
It's like the biggest burger flipper knows your VIN number, right? Same premise applies when you walk into a casino. Mm-hmm. They've identified you. More than likely picked up your RFID, from your wallets, your credit cards. They've already kind of geotagged you as a person or person of interest. And at that point, with open source technology, they can deduce of kind of who you are or get a really good idea.
So I walk in. I don't understand. I mean, I'm just walking through. I haven't gambled.
Don't matter.
I'm just walking through.
Yeah, don't matter.
And they've got readers at somewhere that are reading my wallet, saying, okay, this person, whatever. They can do a soft pull and say, hey, this guy's got a 790 credit score.
Yeah.
We generally
let's
think he's
let's say you
making this
walk
much.
into a casino, nice, metaphorically on the strip casino, and you're just there, just walking through, mm-hmm. right? The moment you walk through, just like the Chinese have facial identification and retinal identification, same technology is being applied in these casinos, right? So they're like, hey, Rico's here, cool, no problem. He's a male, he's 5'10", blah, blah, blah. He's this weight, got it, no problem. That's all your demographic. Then from that information, they're like, all right, go ahead and do open source. Open source is just like open information, right? Hey, go ahead and get a query string, like our search screen, query string, and figure out who this guy is. Don't give me a name. Just give me who he might be.
This is Matt Cox. Yeah. We need to get him off the premises as quickly as possible.
And there are gentlemen who are tagged as you cannot walk into a casino.
Right.
Yeah, there's a few guys I've seen before. Like
they're in the black book, right?
That they
card
are
counters.
Oh, the card counters. Yeah, I've seen a few of those guys. But yeah, so when it comes to like technology and cyber, it's a little bit different. Like they can say, hey, the way not hospitals, but like casinos get breached mostly is it's the fundamental thing of like poor hygiene. Remember, you have a bunch of these things called POS machines, not piece of shit machine, but like point of sale, right? Imagine a slot machine is a point of sale machine, right? And they have to be managed at some point. But there's this discrepancy of like, are we managing it or is the vendor managing it? If it's a vendor management, it needs to be on some completely different network, right? Somewhere different. But it has to be in our environment. It has to be on the floor, right? So what happens is there's not enough thorough vetting of these devices because if I'm not managing it, that means you need to manage it. That means you manage the security of it. That means I can't. I have to trust in you. A lot of these casino machines, a lot of these slot machines are non-managed and they're unsecured. They just kind of run rapid and nobody's paying attention to that. And that's the easiest way to get in to a network.
Through like a slot machine?
Yeah. Well, think about it. It's a dummy machine. It's a smart dumb machine.
But it's connected.
It's connected. That's the problem. It's connected, right?
So but to me, you'd have to plug something in. You'd have to have a laptop. You'd have to have like
not necessarily.
Is it like one of the rotary phones or the old push buttons where it's like the numbers, right, on the phone numbers. Remember the old push, like A is like one is A, B, C, right. And so you're on the thing, you pull the thing, and you start hitting it.
No.
Enter. And
so remember, all these devices emit some sort of like RFID, Wi-Fi, broadcast, SSID, which is like a frequency, right? and it says, "Hey, I'm machine number 1. Come talk to me."
Right.
And you say, "Okay, cool. What do you want to talk about?" The best way to do that, it could possibly be facilitated, is a device called Pineapple Wi-Fi. You can buy them on Amazon, and you just program to say, "I want you to talk to this thing here." And then at that point, once you have a established connection and also a communication, you start going through the whole list of like, okay, well, what do you have in that little smart machine of yours? How do you operate? And you start questioning the machine, and the machine is dumb enough to give it the information. It's like, okay, what do you want to know, Matt? Here's all my addresses. Here's all my windows that are open. Here's all my doors that are open. And then if you're somebody who has some sort of technology advancement, you say, okay, well, I want to see if I can get in this window. And unfortunately, a lot of casinos don't pay attention to those windows, which are these machines are completely wide open.
And so then they get access to somehow or another convince the system that they're like an administrator and they can make changes.
Exactly. So what happens is once you get a hold of the machine, at that point, threat actor is like, okay, so where else can I go? Because remember, this is patient 0. You never want to be at patient 0. You want to go ahead and lateral over as much as you can till you find an administrator level device, account, or person's account. Those are the 3 things you always want to look for. And then you get a hold of it, you change the password and whatnot. And then from there, you kind of expand your landscaping, if you will. And then you own it. But this is always going to be your point of exfiltration. Like you can leave as soon as possible.
It's funny because the only reason, here's what I'm thinking about is like the guy that's driving a forklift right now who, the extent of his understanding of technology is he can go on YouTube, he can look at videos, he can email, although he probably doesn't do it much. He texts, the very, very basic. It's just the very basic consumer of technology, right? Which is not somebody who, where I understand what you're saying because, we have YouTube and TikTok and we have to go into the administrative, or the studio or the back end. I always think of them all as back. I don't know if they still call them back end, but the back end. And it's funny because like, even when I'll build, let's say a website or something, like I built our website where we're moving to a new studio. We putting together a website and everything just to answer all the questions. Like when you're like, hey, we end up talking and you're going to come on the show. And I say, typically what happens is 50% of the people that are coming here, really, to be honest, probably 90% of the people that are actually going to have to fly in, the first thing they say is there a hotel near you? So, is there anything I can do while I'm there? I'm going to be, I'm not going to fly in for the day. I'm going to fly in for 4 days. Yeah. Is there anything wrong? So one of the things we did on the website is like, we have like a page where it's like things to do, places to stay, that sort of thing. Anyway, the point is, and then it allows you to also upload and all this other stuff. Well, because I had to build that website, I understand what you're saying. Like there's different levels, like, right? Like you can be management, which allows you to do certain things. And you could be like an editor, or you can, what I'm saying? So when you're saying give them higher levels of permission. Yeah. So I understand, because when you go on like Wix or you go on GoDaddy or any of those things, they give you different administrative levels of things that you can do. You could alter the entire system if you wanted to. You could add pages, remove pages. You could say, hey, I want to see a list of all the people that have bought stuff from you if you've got a store or whatever. So I could imagine it's much more complicated in a larger system. Very complicated. Right. But at least I have a basic understanding of what you're saying. So I was just thinking about like the guy who's driving the forklift. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh, absolutely.
But so I understand, and I understand like if you just give somebody access, right? Like there are some people we give low level access just to do something minor. And I'm trying to think like, how do they, but somehow or another, they're figuring out how to get somebody else to give them access to a higher or higher access and higher. Are they doing that by themselves? Yeah. Like, is it like, I think of, you remember the movie Swordfish?
Yeah. Yeah, great movie.
Did you never, he doesn't know. He doesn't even know.
Great movie, man. Guy getting a blowjob while hacking.
Yeah, completely not
that's
reasonable.
What sold
by
my
the way.
career.
Are you serious?
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, they make it look cool. He makes it look cool. But it's funny too, because I did a keynote speech for Galactic Security, which was a company, and and it's funny because when they contacted me, so one of my subscribers, one of the guys that watches the show all the time, he works for them. Oh, nice. And he contacted me and said, listen, we're having an annual event. And he said, I think you'd be great. I'm going to recommend you. And I was like, okay. So he recommended me to his boss. His boss watched one of the videos, or my story, came back and got on the phone. So we talked, and they said, we want you to come. And I was like, listen, man, I don't know anything about cybersecurity. Yeah. Like I said, I don't think I'm a good fit for you guys, because I want to, like, I don't mind telling my story, but I want you to be happy. And I don't think I'm going to bring any value to you guys. And he got on the phone. He said, he said, I know what you're thinking cybersecurity is. And I said, what's that? And he said, you're thinking swordfish. And I was like, exactly, exactly. He was so funny too. Yeah. And he was like, you think that there's some guy, he sits at a computer, and he says, I found a portal. And he writes a quick program that allows him to get in. He has this whole little skit he did. Yeah. I was like, right, of course. He's like, yeah, that's not what it is. No. He said, it's exactly what you did, because he had watched one of the things. He goes, it's what you did with the Social Security Administration. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay. And I said, you call up? He goes, well, some people do. And he said, it's convincing somebody within the system or within the company that has access to give you access. So they ask little questions, or they'll come up with what do you say?
Urgency.
One of them, it was started as simple as like coming up with an email address that looked almost exactly like their email address. So it looks like you have been given this email address that they don't realize it wasn't assigned by the company, So it's not like whatever, how it's a Gmail, whatever. Instead it's, galactic.com, or whatever. The email address is from Galactic, but it's really not. It's Galactic, but it's spelled slightly different.
Yeah, Galactics.
Yeah, it's something, but the person who's responding to it doesn't realize that. And he's like, before you know it, you're communicating with someone. They think you work for the company. He goes, because everybody's remote. Yeah. He goes, and before you know it, you're on a phone call with them. You speak like them. You do one or two things. You build a little bit of a trust. The next thing you know, there's an issue. You're locked out. You have to get this. You have to get this whatever to Brad. Would you mind real quick letting me do this? Oh, sure, of course, Tom. And you give them access. The next thing you know, boom, that's it. You're done. Then they change the code. They do this, and now they have their own access. And you don't even realize they have access anymore, even if you change your password. It's like they don't realize what they've done. And now you're in the system, and like you said, you wait.
Yeah.
They spend some time figuring out how the system works, all the different quirks. And they just wait and wait and wait. And then they get access to something else. They get little information. They read some emails. They figure out somebody else. That person gives them more access. He was like, oh, it'll take months. He goes, but it's the same thing. He said it's just social networking.
Social engineering.
Sorry, social engineering.
Yeah.
He said it's just social engineering. Which is exactly so if you'll just tell your story, he said it's exactly. And let me tell you something. When I went to this place, I am expecting. And there was like, I'm going to say 150 guys that were there. And I've talked to a lot of these things, right? But not cybersecurity.
Right.
So in my mind, cybersecurity, it was going to be a bunch of Urkels. You know who Urkel is?
Yes, I do.
I don't know if
I know Urkel.
Okay.
It was neckbeards.
It was going to be 150 guys, Urkels, right? Yeah. And so that's what it was going to be. And keep in mind, I'll go to different banks, different credit unions, different lending institutions. They're all in shirts and ties. Yeah. It's very stuffy. And so that's what I'm expecting. When I say it was like going to a rock concert, they had a smoke machine. Yeah. They had multiple smoke machines. Yeah. They had lights. The lights were dim. They had everybody's wearing, they've all got black outfits. They all look like very hip. Mm-hmm. Everybody was young. You go to a credit union, a credit union seminar. Listen, the average age is 50. These guys are 22 years old. Yeah. They're all super hip. Everybody involved, they're wearing these, they got the mics and the things, and you can't even see them, and they're coming out of the steam smoke. And the smoke, and they've got the lights, and they're playing music, and I'm like, the fuck is this?
And that's where the money's at, baby. Yeah.
And these guys and when I got there and I did my whole shtick, right? I tell my story for 45 minutes, I answer a bunch of, and then I thought, these guys aren't going to ask really any questions
they are.
Because even still, my story is not that. It's still, they asked great questions. Yeah. And then when I left the stage, guys had my book. I'm signing books.
Yeah.
I'm signing. It wasn't necessarily autographs. It was, but it wasn't. It was more like books and hey, can you? And then I must have taken at least 20 selfies.
Mm-hmm.
And you might. Sometimes I never do, but every once in a while I'll take one or two. Like I'll take as many as you ask me to. But there's 20 guys that are taking photos with me.
Yeah, you're the hero.
I was a rock star.
Yeah.
It was the coolest. Then I had to go with them later. We had to go to some place and have buffalo wings. And it's not like 5 guys went. Like they packed the entire thing. They closed it down. It was hilarious. I really had no idea. And I didn't think I would be able to do that.
Why, dude?
Because I just didn't.
And if you think about
swordfish. I thought it was swordfish.
No, 2 things on that. Think about the back to that comment you said about Grant Cardone. Like anybody who makes less than $400,000 a year, those guys, right?
Oh, they all make tons of money.
Tons of money. Your lowest level paying guy is at $200,000 a year. So he's a scumbag, obviously. So, but yeah, come on. Like
the intern makes $150,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were, and they were all super cool. And listen, they'd all watch my stuff. Like they just thought I was the coolest thing ever. And I thought,
well, the reason is because you are what they are not willing to do.
Do I physically walk in and shake someone's hand?
Well, there's that too, but like the whole criminality part, like you actually took it. You actually took it to the point they wish they could. Right? Imagine these frail guys, these neckbeards, these Urkels, all together. Like, well, if I did one more step, I could be a criminal, right? But you actually took a step. So then in their eyes, you're like, well, fuck, this guy's my hero.
Yeah.
Think about it that way, man.
I think there actually was one guy who actually kind of took me aside and told me, listen, this is what happened. he told me, like, I think he had a felony, and I think, but it was because you have to think they have people. So this is the company, but the company, they also hire other companies that do subcontractors that do. So like that, the owner of that company passed the security, and then he hires somebody underneath, and those guys are invited. So I had one guy that's like, listen, here's what happened, and he told me a story. It was something like he was like 17 or 18. He ended up with a felony, but he was 17, 18 years old. And it was just some stupid thing and never did anything with it. He couldn't even figure out how to sell the information. It was on his computer. He's like, it was stupid. But he explained the whole thing to me. But so I think that those guys, a lot of them, it's the difference between black hats and white hats, right?
Black hats, white hat, gray hats. Yep. It's if you really think about it, if you're willing to take it to the next level, that's what delineates you from them, right? So at the end of the day, like how far and how bad do they want to be known but in your eyes, they're emulating the Matrix, the Neos, right? All the nice suits and whatnot, and they want to emulate that, but they're not willing to take it to the next step.
Right. Well, at the price, at the amount of money these guys are making, they don't need to.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Why would you? Why would you make $500,000 if I can make $300,000 and I don't have to worry about the rest of my life? I can invest it. I can do
this job.
Yeah, because I can promise you, if you're making the $500,000 and you do it for 4 years, and the government shows up, they're fucking taking all that money.
Oh yeah,
and they're gonna stick you with a judgment for any damage you did. You'll be like, but I didn't see $12 million. It doesn't matter. You did $12 million in damage.
Yeah.
Now you owe that. It'd be like you wish that you stuck with 300,000.
That was like some of the cases that I worked in Phoenix was like the Medicare Medicaid fraud, right? And I knew these guys who took the ERISA side. You know what that is? Employment Retire Sponsored Insurance, right? And they figured out a scam how to do it, but they actually targeted that specific area for $198 million, and they were able to take all that money. Did you hear about the recent one in Phoenix from the Rwandan pastor or priest, pastor, whatever the hell he was? Basically, he siphoned off $33 million from the local Medicare Medicaid from running a ghost sober living. He just had the houses, he had the beds, and he was just pumping the bill to the county.
And they were just paying
it blindly. So that money went to there, and then that pastor, priest, or whatever the hell he was, sent the money to Rwanda. And it's like...
And he was Rwandan. So then what? Then he goes to Rwanda and...
Living the high life, man. So they finally caught up to him. They're like, hey, dude, this ain't right. This is past a sniff test. So same premise applies. The same premise applies with this. Is like, I'm surprised at like all these Medicare, Medicaid frauds, like how easy it is to do them. And that's pretty wild when nobody's really paying attention.
It is I've met a bunch of guys doctors that were, or they weren't all doctors. Sometimes it's amazing. You don't have to be a doctor to open up like a clinic, or even a hospital or anything. You don't have to be a doctor, but it's interesting how a lot of these guys, doctors, will get in there and they'll start, billing Medicare, Medicaid, and really it's just billing. So I see somebody and you have Medicare, and there's different levels of an examination, and they'll just start saying that I did the highest level, and they'll just start smashing it out, and then they'll order some tests that they're not actually doing, and then but for ordering the tests they get so much money, and then so they start doing this, and then the money starts coming in, they get emboldened by it, they do it. 3 years later, they run an audit. They'll run an audit. They'll say, okay, you've seen 1,400 patients, and you're billing at the top level almost every time. And they'll be like, well, based on our stats, you really should be billing. And they have it broken down on what the average person, and you're not meeting that. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start calling these patients. And then they do an audit. They come in, they get you in a room, and they explain.
The other one I see is
up.
the one financial fraud, Medicare, Medicaid billing one I saw is these guys were billing per points of paint that they remedied. So they would get these. Check this out, right? So let's take the ankle, right? The ankle, the foot has 100 different pain points you can remedy if you put a tool on it, like a wrap.
Okay.
So they'll be like, okay, cool, we're going to issue this wrap, right? And then you get the wrap, you put it on your foot, and they're like, all right, cool, you're good for about a month, you good, cool. Well, we're going to bill your insurance per day per pain point, which is, let's just say $100 per pain point, and they will bill the insurance like $100,000 for the thing. And it's like the insurance will start paying.
They just pay it.
Yeah, pay it. And then after a while, you're like,
well, can you imagine how like they do they I hate to say this, but they do have to just issue the payment, because do you have any idea how expensive it would be to have a secondary doctor go over every single
true.
Like it's better to just pay. I mean, it's cheaper to just pay. It's so that's an issue. But most things are like that. It's like the IRS. If I go right now and I file a tax return, I mean, 15, 20 years ago, they were just paying everybody. Yeah. You could just make up a number, send it in, and say, hey, I worked for Walmart. I made $90,000, paid in $18,000. You owe me $9,000. They just cut you a check, right? Like they just automatically do it. And to a degree they do now, but more things have to match.
Yeah.
But because they don't have the ability to automatically do an audit of whether or not you ever even worked for Walmart.
Yeah.
So typically they just pay, and they catch up with it, and then they hammer you so hard that it terrifies people that think to do this. And we just did an interview with a woman. They called her the tax fraud queen.
That's all I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she just, was just hammering out taxes. I mean, just grabbing anybody, give her a social security number, she could file on them. And for every five she was filing, she's getting like 4 of them are going through, or 3 are going through, and she's knocking them out in 7 or 8 minutes.
And she's saying, I'm just putting in the numbers. I'm just playing with them. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just testing.
Yeah. And you can win with like.
Did she go to jail?
Oh yeah. God, they gave her a ton of time, and then she appealed it, and then he gave her the same amount of. Came back and was like, "Hey, you gave me the wrong amount of time." So the appellate court said, "Yeah, you gave her the wrong amount of time. Send it back to." And he looked at it and he said, "Well, they said I have to re-sentence you." And that's the time I wanted you to have. Boom.
Oh, shit.
Send her back again. I mean, just.
Hammer that.
Because they don't ever say, they're like, hey, your sentencing is out of whack. Like, it doesn't meet the guidelines. Resentence her. They don't really say what you have to. They never typically say what. So I have a buddy who got resentenced 3 different times. And every time they knocked off 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So he went from like 40 years. They came back, and the judge goes, says I have to resentence you. Doesn't say to what. Here's 38. Went back again. You're right. It says I have to resentence you. Doesn't say to what. Here's 36. So they kept knocking 2 years off. I think it got down to 4 years. Got down to 34, from 40 to 34. Years. By that point, he'd already done all the time. It took that long. It dragged him that long. He did 26 years. Anyway, so yeah, it's the way most systems are set up. Once you're in the system and you start billing, they just pay.
Yeah.
And that's corporations too.
Yep.
Like I have the one where I won't tell the whole story, but I met a guy in prison who was moving merchandise, product, whatever you want to call it, for Johnson and Johnson. He was a truck driver.
Yeah.
He was billing them, and so after a year or so, he accidentally put in. He had moved like 5 pallets, and he accidentally put in
500.
It was like 6 or 8 or something, whatever. He said the way they come, and he was explaining how they came, and they were double wrapped or something. I didn't realize it, and something. And he's like, so I accidentally did it. He said, well, I put it in, and they paid me, and at that point, I kind of realized, man, I billed for an extra pallet or 2 extra ones, and he said, but they just paid me.
Yeah.
So then he went, huh, and then he decided I put in a couple of regular ones, and then I moved 8, and I said it was 9. They just paid it. He's like, so then it started becoming he ended up with like 3.5 over the course of like 2 or 3 years. He billed over $1 million a year for the next 3 years. Eventually they catch him and goes to jail.
Yeah.
But the point is that once you're kind of in the system and you've passed that,
Figured out.
you pass that kind of probationary period with most companies, sometimes they'll give you like, we kind of scrutinize for the first few months or something. Once you're kind of past that, they just start, unless it's outrageous,
No.
they just kind of start paying if it's within the norm.
So that's like a semi-truck weights, right?
Right.
You seen that? Same thing. They're just like, hey, the guys will actually add more water weight. And they'll be like, all right, cool. So whenever you see a semi-truck, they'll start pumping the holes on the side of the water so they can bill per weight class.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I saw that quite a bit in Oklahoma. And they'll go on these weight stations and you'll see all these guys just, why are they like increasing water to their semi-truck, right? If it's a refrigerated truck, that's different. But because they get paid per weight, per weight class, and also per classification. And then you'll start seeing like these guys just pulling the side of the road and just like letting all this water go. And you're like, what the fuck? The only reason I found that out is because I had a semi-truck business, very, very short stint.
Right.
And 2 of these guys, it was funny, 2 of these guys were like, hey man, we can do this for you. We can do this weight. I'm like, no, that's kind of, all right, cool. Kind of looking at the load board. I'm like, yeah, cool. I'll make some money on this deal, whatever. And then I noticed like a habitual thing. And then state trooper was like, hey, this is a scam. You know this, right? Like, this is how they do it.
Right.
I was like, oh, really? And he goes, yeah. So you're gonna pay Sam's Club or Walmart for overnight freights, and they pay very well. But the problem is they'll do it per weight because when you go through California, there's a weight station, and Washington, especially if you go to Alaska, and then they say this is when they start increasing the weight, increasing the weight. So your bill goes up on the DEF fuel, right? And then at that point, that's when you have to ask for reimbursement, and then they already know they already got you at that point. I'm like, so your $4,000 cargo turns into like $10,000 overnight. I'm like, this makes no sense whatsoever. So yeah, it's interesting.
So what happens when they eventually get into like something like a casino? You're saying they enter through maybe a slot machine,
Yeah.
and they get in there, and then they go and they tell them that, hey, you owe us X amount of dollars, and you're saying that well, I guess you kind of already explained that they don't always pay, and if they do pay, they typically come back. Can't you pay and then patch the holes? Like you would think they would learn and say, okay, well, we have to really start investing in this.
So what happens is, let's just take a casino, for example. Threat actors in there, they get booted out, and now a security team comes in and says, hey, these POS machines need to be on these avenues of street, like a network, right? They cannot be a part of your corporate stuff. The other part is they have to be patched over continuously at all times. The problem is a lot of people forget there's a thing called patch management and vulnerability management, like how you fix things right around the house, patch this hole, this, that, and the other. A lot of organizations don't do it well. It just hands down because it's very tedious. You're always chasing the tail of the dog here. And threat actors know that, and that's why they always want to come back and be like, hey, how can we do this? The point of a threat actor getting in there is, how can I take your money, or how can I take your means to make money? In the casino's environment is like, you're not going to pay me? Perfect. I'll just go ahead and take it on all your casino, all your slot machines, everything I can, and I'll just brick them, which means make them completely useless. That means the customer's not going in there making, putting money into the damn slot machine, right? So they're like out of business. So every day that you're out of business, I think it was like $65 million a day. Yeah, that they were out of business. Casino was out of business.
That's worth paying a few million.
Yeah, so like the ransom, I think it was like $28 million, and they're like, we'll pay it. We'll pay it. Just give us our stuff back.
Right.
But at that point, you have a very, very highly technical, skilled cybersecurity team or incident responders, forensics, and they just show up and like, here's how to fix it. Right. Now you're gonna pay for the bigger side of the talent, but it's up to you, man. Like if you're the casino, you're gonna want to pay the ransom or not, right?
I see. Did you ever see the movie? Oh God,
Is it Ocean's 45?
No. It was called The Score.
Yeah. God dang.
Robert De Niro, and in Robert De Niro, he's got a hacker who hacks into the government website to download the schematics for for one of their government buildings that he wants to rob, and so his hacker is caught while he's hacking by the security company for whatever security company is monitoring this government website. And so these two have this complete argument, and they're yelling at each other through the computer. Like he's saying this and he's saying this, and this guy wants this much money and he wants this much money. He's fuck you. And they're going back and forth. It's so ridiculous, but it sounds like it's reasonable.
Oh, very, very much. you were going to have some fucking hot-tempered Urkels.
Right. That's exactly what it is.
God damn it, fuck you. I'm like, hey, all right. So
that's exactly what it is. And then eventually they end up meeting. They physically meet in a park to get the money.
Oh yeah. There has to be a drop-off point, right?
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to get the money, right, guys? E-wallets and all this good stuff is going to only take you so far, but like cash money, that's what really brings it in.
Right.
And that never goes well, especially in the cyber community. Like if you're going to bring cash to Ukraine, that's not one, you're gonna get blown up. Number two, like it's just.
I was gonna say the cops will take it. Like that's what people used to always say. Why didn't you go to Mexico? I'm like because the police will take the money from me. Like what are you talking about? If you're a gringo living in Mexico and you've clearly got money, I'm not even. You don't have to be worried about the gangs or the cartel. I mean the cops might just come in and take your fucking money.
They'll do that. They'll chop your head off and chop your hands off.
Right.
And then it'll be like it's just a body at that point. It doesn't matter. Seen that happen.
What other types of issues do you?
Yeah, so this one, right? The one thing I ran into this year, it's quite fascinating. So you'll see this quite a bit. So the sugar baby, sugar daddy stuff is alive and well, I guess. You know, like I don't know what the hell.
I mean, well, this is older guys taking care of a younger girl.
Sure.
Okay.
So there are specific websites that did not know this. So I get a phone call from a husband and wife, but not at the same time, just kind of like really weird. And this guy's like, I need this to go away. And I'm like,
I bet you do.
And I'm like, okay, what is this? And talk to me about it. And he's like, I live in Jackson, Tennessee. And I'm like, all right, well, meet me over coffee. Let's talk. And I was like, look, man, I'm not going to judge you. I just need to know these things. Okay. So sit down. I'm at downtown Nashville at the Thompson Hotel. And he comes in and this dude's frazzled. I'm like, what's going on, dude? And he goes, all right. So I was trying to go get some. I'm like, some what? And he goes, some ass. I'm like, okay. So did you get, caught up in a John Doe sting, like a prostitution sting, Jane Rose? What? He's like, no. I was looking on this sugar daddy website. I was like, oh, well, there's those? No shit. Okay, keep going. Let's hear it. And he goes, I'm developing this relationship with this girl. And I'm like, all right, well, did you ever call her or anything? He's like, no, I'm just text messaging. I'm like, well, that would have been red flag number one. Number two is like, what happened? He goes, well, I was texting her, and then all of a sudden they asked me for my phone number. I'm like, well, that's a mistake number one. And he said, I gave you, he gave her the phone number and name. And I'm like, well, that's your problem because information is very easy to find.
Right.
So over a month or two, this guy is supposedly talking to a female, and it really was a guy in India, right? Kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And I was looking at some pictures. I'm like, man, that's a good looking
Indian. Yeah.
Good for you, pal. And so we're going back and forth, and he goes, now the phone call came in, and I'm like, okay, let me guess they want money. They're like, yeah, they want $5,000, or they're going to tell my wife. They're going to tell all the people that are in my houthousehold, that's my kids and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I was like, does your wife know about this? And he's like, no. And I'm like, well, it's funny because I just have an email from her and it's the same situation, same name. So like you might be on the same page, but you might want to figure this out.
What is the wife saying in the email?
So the wife is like, is this true? Number one. And then number two, it's like, can you help my husband figure this out? And I was like, okay. So it's like,
that's interesting.
Yeah. So I go, okay, so you're not pissed at him? Like, again, I'm not judging, but like, you're not mad at him. She's like, we'll figure that out later. It's just, I need this to be finished. And I'm like, you want it to go away? You want it to be finished? Okay, let's take a look. So I said,
has this guy got some money? Like, have you ever seen the TikTok where the woman walks in, she's walking with a bunch of shopping bags, and she walks into the bedroom, and her multimillionaire. It says when the woman dating a multimillionaire walks in on him having sex with another woman, she walks in and goes, "Oh gosh, I'm sorry," and then turns around and walks right back out.
No,
she don't want to know. I got a good thing going here.
Yeah, I think that might have been the case. Yeah, because the guy was like, whoever the threat actor was able to pull their net worth. And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
So they know what you got. So it was very interesting because the threat actor was like, I want $5,000 via Venmo. I'm like, well, that's a problem with Venmo. It's going to give you cap rates. You know, you're just not going to be able to move that amount of money. You're going to get hit with a OFAC fine or something like that, right? Cool. And so he goes, I paid him. It's like, okay, how much did you pay him? He's like, I gave him $1,000. I'm going to send him another $1,000 tonight. And I'm like, okay, well, you're setting the precedence, and they're going to do it anyways. And he goes, no, they won't. No, they won't. Okay, cool. Leave, get on the phone with his wife. And I'm like, hey, I just want to be honest with you. I just met with your husband. And she's like, well, I'm pissed about that. But okay, let's figure this out. How much do we have to pay to get this to go away? And I'm like, okay.
Well, you're the person that they're gonna fucking tell. If you already know, why don't they just say, go fuck yourself? Well, I already know.
Well, there's that one, but also they're like, well, then they're gonna tell
their kids, the neighbors.
Exactly. And I was like, okay, so this is getting kind of weird. So long story short, they paid, and sure as shit, the threat actor still did it. Mm-hmm. And they're like,
he did it anyway? What
they
an
didn't
asshole.
They didn't give a shit. Again, the unscrupulous people, right?
Yeah.
They're like, all right, fuck it, whatever. And they just went with it because they didn't pay on time. But here's the thing with the threat actors, they don't understand U.S. banking federal regulations.
Right.
Like, you can't move $5,000 within 24 hours, right? It has to be below 2,000 something, right?
Okay.
Where you start seeing some red flags, right? But they were using a compromised Venmo account. And I'm like, well, Venmo's going to pick that up. Like, you guys got to figure something out here. You got to get better at this. So it was just like really funny to see that, because I still get a lot of messages like this till this day on my personal email. I'm like, because I have a form that says, hey, submit a question, right? And dude, I get stuff like this all the time. Sextortion, LinkedIn extortion is another big one. LinkedIn sextortion is huge. I was working with this lady, a Phoenix-based mortgage company. Felt kind of bad for this one, but not really. So she got extorted for about $500,000, and so yeah, it gets better. So this lady, she was like an older lady, like pretty decent looking lady. You can tell definitely in her youth, she was a rock star for sure. So this guy reached out of nowhere, and LinkedIn was like, hey, great content. And that's how it started. Really appreciate your executive leadership. I'm like, okay, so you're stroking the ego here. You're placating, cool. And then it progressed into like a romance LinkedIn type deal, right? Then it progressed into like, send me some naked photos.
That was a leap.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was over like 5-6 months. And then it progressed into like, hey, I'm in Romanian jail. Can you send me some like $500 so I can bribe the guard? And I was like, that right there is just kind of odd.
Yeah.
Like, you don't question that. So anyways, through the conversation, they moved to text messages. Bad idea. Cell phone, right? Then they were to find out who she was, who her husband was. And remember, she joined this. She was a CFO of a mortgage company, and he was the CEO of the mortgage company. I mean, dude, you had hundreds of millions of dollars worth of funding, right? So at some point, she started paying, and then the threat acting started coming out. They're like, okay, now we know who you are. We want you to pay this money, or we're going to tell your husband. She calls me up, and she's like, hey, can you meet me in Phoenix in my office? I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. She goes, they have all of my directory, all my emails, all my clients, all my everything, and they're going to send my naked pictures to them if I don't pay. So my question was, how much did you already pay?
Mm-hmm.
She's like, $250. And I'm like,
Jesus.
I was like, so you took $250,000 of your own money or corporate money? She's like, corporate. I'm like, this is going to be a problem. I was like, the problem is I can't get your money back. So what do you want me to do for you here? I want you to make a stop. So I reached out to the threat actor. I'm like, hey, look, this is who I am. This is what I do. And he tells me to fuck off. And he's like, I'm getting my money. And then he kind of was like a facetious dude. And he's like, I'm still going to do this no matter if I get paid or not. And I'm like,
well, why pay?
Why pay? She felt compelled to pay. She's like, I'm going to pay. Because of pain, fear, and pleasure, right? He had administrative enough pain and enough fear, and the pleasure was the money to go away, right? And I'm like, don't pay. I'm going to show you the messages that I got from this guy. Don't pay, ma'am.
Right.
And she's like, I'm paying. So she paid. 4 months later, everything just stops. 4 months later, all these emails just show up. And it's of her naked. And to all our clients, I'm like, Jesus, man. And I felt so bad for that. But the same aspect, I didn't, because, you kind of did this to your husband. And you kind of did this to your company. Like, why would you do that?
Right.
So. And
I told you not to pay. You could have they would have got the same result, but probably quicker. But it would have been for $250,000 at least would have still been in your bank account.
Yeah.
Or the corporate account.
Yeah.
Which may end up being fraud. So yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like that whole, we want to engage in the FBI, and meeting with the guys over there in the office. They were like, all right, so just talk to us what happened. And I'm like, here's what ensued. Blah blah. Here's the evidence. Here's the IOCs, TTPs, right? All the stuff that you need. And they're like, man, we can't do anything for you. Like next time, be careful. Yeah. And that's kind of when I realized, like, if there's a certain dollar amount the FBI's after, they'll let you know. Like if it's sub $1 million, they're not going to bother with you.
So I have a bottom of the barrel, a street version of that. Okay. When I was married, to another woman. I'm not gonna say her name. Anyway, but Puerto Rican chick, which I always like to say is that kind of prepared me for prison. So I was married, and we had about over 50 rental units, right? And I remember one day she had met this girl, and I remember. So I was at the office, and she comes in. I pulled the chick's credit. She goes, "Hey, pull this girl's credit." She goes, "I just met her, whatever." And she did an application. She said she's like a stripper or something, but she wants to move into, I forget what place. I want to say it was Leisurewood. She wants to move into Leisurewood. That was the apartment complex we owned. And so I'm like, okay. So I pull it up, and eviction, and I'm like, yeah, she's horrible, and you can't rent her. And she's like, okay. She comes back, and she called me. She goes, "Listen, I'm going to rent to that chick." I was like, "Why?" And she said, "Well, because she's going to give." She goes, "Well, I told her I wouldn't rent to her." She said her boyfriend would sign, and he's a lawyer. So I talked to him. She goes, "I talked to him, and he said he'd sign." And I said, "Okay, well, she still gets evicted. She has a ton of evictions. She's going to be living there." So she said he has to put down double the security deposit. He said, "No problem. Put down double the security deposit." She moved in. He paid for like 2 months. So we don't really hear anything about it. And then one day there's no check. So, and he was mailing the check. So, and keep in mind, she's got all of his information. So, she goes to the front door and puts the 3-day notice on.
Sure.
And then maybe nothing happens. Then it becomes like the 10-day notice or something. You have to file that with like the downtown. So she files it, puts the notice on. And then she calls him, calls his phone number, and says, "Listen, I don't know if you got this or not, but I put this on the front door, which is what I'm required. But I'm going to go ahead as courtesy to you. I'm going to tell you too." You know what? She hadn't done the 10-day yet. She didn't do the 10-day yet, because that's how she got him. Because he said, "Okay," he said, "Yeah, I'm not gonna pay anymore." He said that I was dating that girl. I'm not dating her anymore, and. By this point, my wife had spoken with the stripper.
Sure.
And she was like, "Well, look, you have to pay." She's like, "He was paying it. It's up to him to pay." And she said, "Okay, well, he's not paying. and he's not returning my calls. And whatever. She's like, well, you got to call him and this and that. And so basically during the course of that conversation, she realizes that the girlfriend, the stripper, is this guy's kind of mistress, and he's married with kids.
Boy, that's spicy.
And so she then calls him and says, listen, you have to pay. And he goes, I'm not paying. I'm not seeing her anymore, blah, blah, blah. And she says, okay, well, I'm going to serve the 10-day notice and evict you and put it on your credit. He goes, listen, I'm a lawyer. He said, I tell you right now, he said, you put anything on my credit. He said, I'll sue the shit out of you. He said, I'll make you fucking miserable. He goes, so here's what you're going to do. You got double the security deposit. He goes, you go ahead and you go ahead and you evict her. He said, keep the double the security, but it's like $2,000.
Sure.
Keep the couple of grand. He said, call it a day. And she went, huh. And you didn't know this. You didn't know my ex-wife, bro.
Yeah, Latinos are spicy.
Oh,
bro.
she was like, she loved the challenge.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he thought he was deterring her. Right then she thought, oh, that's it. You think this chick's making your life miserable.
Let me help you out.
Yeah, let me show you what miserable is. So she goes, oh, okay. And he basically hangs up on her. So she goes in, finds out, gets his name, finds out, and she already has like his office address. So she goes online, goes to Hillsborough County, finds out where his house is.
Perfect.
Looks it up, says, oh yeah, definitely this house here. It's back then it was like probably $1.5 million now. And in Florida, that's like a $5 million house, in New York or California, right? Yeah. So, but back then I think it was whatever, 600,000-700,000, whatever. So, but it's clearly like this is his house.
God.
So she looks up, gets the phone number, everything, calls him up, eventually gets him on the phone again, and says, okay, listen. And he's like, oh, good, I already told you. And she says, no, I just want to let you know, when do you think you'll be home? And he goes, what do you mean? She said, your home, your address at 1316, blah, 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 such and such. She said, because I'm assuming you're going to be at work tomorrow. So did you want me to, she goes, I just want to know when you're going to be home. And he goes, well, what are you talking about? And she goes, well, I'm going to have a sheriff serve you. She goes, but I just want to make sure that you're at work when I serve your wife at your house for the eviction. She said, so are you going to be at work tomorrow? And what time so I can make sure that I can serve her? And he goes, what are you doing? You can't serve He threatens her a little bit. Like, you do that and I'll do this. She's like, I don't give a fuck. She's like, you fucking crazy. She's like, I'm going to this. He breaks down immediately. You don't understand. This woman's ruining my life. The stripper, she did this. And she came by my office twice. My partner's this. My partner's that. Yeah. She this, she that. Like, had gone by the office a bunch of times. Like she's threatening to try and find out where he works and go to see the wife and this and that. Now he's got somebody competent threatening. So legally she can do this. I can go serve you at this house. I can serve you wherever I think you are. Yeah. So what can we do? Oh my God, wait a minute. I'll pay the rent. She says, no, I want her out. No, that wasn't it. He said, what can I do? And she goes, pay the rent. And he's like, no, you don't understand. I got to get rid of this girl. She said, okay. He goes, what can we do? She's like, well, as of right now, and I forget what the rent was, like $700 a month. And she was like, as of right now, you paid 2 months. You still owe 10 months. Like you owe me $7,000. Pay that. And he was like, no. You got to work with me. I can't send you $7,000. Like my wife will figure out. Like I can't. And she goes, okay, here's what we can do. She said, I'll continue the eviction. Mm-hmm. And then when I get her out, you will pay I'm going to renovate the property. Oh. So I'm going to Kayla said, I'll clean it up and I'm going to rent it back out. And as soon as we rent it out, I will stop you paying, but you'll pay me up to that point. And he said, okay. So she continues the eviction. And just as she is having her, like she's going to be out within a few days. Like the sheriff comes and puts it on there and it's like, you have like 3 days to get out, or 2 days. I forget what it was. I'm sitting at my office and I had a bunch of mortgage brokers that work for me. And a lot of them had real estate, right? And so there was a guy named Johnny Moon. One day I look up and I see the stripper. I'd seen her once. I'd seen her like one time. And I look up and I'm like, and she's in the receptionist room.
Shit.
And look up and I see the receptionist like, hey, Johnny. And he's like, yeah. So he gets up and walks over there and I'm like, and so Johnny walks into the conference room with her, comes back over. And I know he's going to pull her credit, right? Like he shouldn't, but he's going to. Not on my dime. I'm going to get charged that like Back then it was only
$17,
15 bucks. It was like 15 bucks. Now it's more,
Yeah.
but it was like 15 bucks or 12. I think it was 12. But anyway, so he walks back. Whoa, what are you doing, bro? And he goes, I'm going to pull her credit real quick. He said, I'm renting her. I go, I already know who that is. He says, what do you mean? I said, you know the fucking stripper? And he goes, no. And I go, that's the stripper. And he goes, bro, she's gonna rip my. I was just gonna pull her credit. And I go, I can tell you what it looks like. I got one from 3 months ago. And I said, it's horrible. It's fucking horrible. And he goes, I said, yeah, you got to just tell her no. And he goes, fuck, bro. He goes, she got fucking she's got cash. I go, okay, well, tell her she got to have the boyfriend fucking sign. And he goes, fuck. And he gets up, he walks in there, talks to her for a little bit, comes back, and he's like, he goes, she's gonna put down like double the security or 3 times the. I go, that's a mistake. He goes, no, first month. I go, what are you doing? Yeah. She's being thrown out. So he ends up saying he calls the lawyer, and the lawyer's like, I will give you 3 times, like I will give you whatever, whatever it was. It was $700 times 3. I forget what it was. That was $2,100. I'll give you that plus the first month as long as you can get her on a lease that doesn't include me.
Oh, perfect.
And of course, he's looking at it as $700 because he's charging double the.
Yep.
So he's like 20. At this point, it's $2,800 in his hand.
Perfect.
And he's saying, but it's not perfect. You're still going to have to
that's a huge
evict her.
liability. Yeah, huge liability.
But the lawyer knows I'm not on the lease this time.
Got to pay for your freedom.
And I told him, don't do it, bro. Don't do it. Same thing. Don't do it. Don't do it. She will trash your place. She will. And he's like, I don't know. She seems okay. I'm like, no. Oh, I didn't tell you this. During the course of this, what we figured out was that she was hooked on like oxys.
Oh, perfect. Great.
Anyway, he lets her sign. She goes in, gets into the apartment. The first month's rent is due. She doesn't pay it.
Of course.
So he did get $2,800. By the time he gets her out of there, which takes a month and a half, even though he could have gotten her out within, like, say, 3 weeks if you start immediately. She kept giving him she gave him and he did all the stupid things you're not. He took like $100 or $200, and she like, here's $200 towards the $700. I'll have the rest next week, and of course she doesn't. Yeah. But it gave her another week or two, and it goes up. She goes and I know this because my ex-wife was still dealing with him because we were now renovating that property. When I just cleaning it out, she didn't do any damage to our property.
Oh, yeah.
My ex-wife is still talking to the lawyer, and she's showing up at his place, at his work. Oh. He's having to give her cash. Like, here's $200. Get out of here. And she'd take off and go give Johnny $200. He's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And my ex-wife, no sympathy for this guy. Cheating, lying, piece of garbage. You fucking man. I'm like, what am I getting shit for? I mean, he's a horrible person. I agree. I'm with you.
Why do you generalize me, sweetheart? Right. Why am I in this group?
I would never. I'm terrified of you. So, anyway, by the time Johnny Moon got her out, it was whatever, a month and a half later. He did get her out. She had, first of all, it was insane how much she had trashed that place. And she broken 2 or 3 windows. She really just destroyed. I mean, we're talking about ripping cabinet doors off, like really malicious stuff that has honestly never happened to one of our rental units. We'd had like one bad experience with a tenant, and even then it wasn't that big of a deal. Yeah. But she was just for a 115-pound chick with fake tits, a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And anyway, he ends up kicking her out. Our place got fixed. I don't know whatever happened to that poor fucking lawyer, but I feel like it's the same kind of thing where it's like,
don't do it.
It was a much more personal.
Yeah.
Than this. But this guy never. And I don't know. What are you thinking? Like, what are you thinking? You're married with 2 kids. You're a lawyer, and you put some chick in. What do you think? You're going to have this little side piece, and she's going to keep stripping and be faithful, and it's going to be just your side.
That's whatever they have fabricated in their mind. Like they have this fantasy of like they want to live up. I'm like, dude, what are you thinking? Like the CFO person, like, what? Play at the end result to me here. Like, are you gonna go to Romania and be with this guy? You don't think your husband's gonna notice?
Right.
Like you don't think 250 grand is gonna go unnoticed? So like I don't understand. And I think the insecurity of the ego, that's where people get played on. They're just like, oh, it'll be okay, no problem, and they just milk that.
It also seemed like you had said this was an older woman.
Older woman, yeah.
To me, cheating is something that a younger guy does. You know what I'm saying? You're in your 20s. You think you're the shit. You think you could pull it off. You think that we're all just having fun. And that when you get older, well, I mean, I guess older guys do it too. But to me, it's like
older guys will pay for the opportunity, if that makes sense.
Right.
Right. So they want.
Or they think they can control someone with their money. Maybe?
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, because I see that especially with a lot of older men, especially in the South. Like they'll go to like Scottsdale or whatever, and they'll be like, "Oh, if I just pay for the opportunity, I'm just like, okay, so you want to be able to control the outcome,
right?
That's what you want, So that's kind of what I think they're trying to do as they get older. As they're younger, they're more risky. They're like, hey, they want to do things. And so I think the risk versus reward and also risk tolerance. So like, how much are you willing to risk it? But the thing, and also the other thing I've learned is like, how much does your money take you?
Right.
Right. So a lot of these guys that I know like have a lot of money and they're just like, just make it go away. Make it go away. So everything comes with a price, man.
Like to me as an older guy, like I so much want just peace in my life. Like, you know what I mean? Like you have no idea. Well, you do, I guess. Well, you're not my age. I'm 50. I'm 56.
I'm 42.
You're in your, I was gonna say you're in your 40s.
Dude, I enjoy my life right now. And here's why. Like I have a really good wife who just, we don't fight. It's just like, hey, it's peaceful. And I see guys my age and they're like, oh dude, I'm like, do you want that 1 a.m. phone call? Do you really want that one? And then they show up with a bag of Taco Bell at 4 a.m. and you wonder why they're trash. I'm like, why would you do that to yourself? Like your sleep is more valuable, bro.
If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. Whether you're having trouble falling asleep, you're waking up sweating in the middle of the night, or all of the above. That's where GhostBed can help. As the makers of the coolest beds in the world, GhostBed is your go-to for cooling mattresses, cooling pillows, and cooling bedding. From their signature Ghost Ice fabric to patented technology that adjusts to your body's temperature, every Ghost Bed mattress is designed with cooling in mind. So whether you want a plusher mattress that cushions your shoulders and hips, or a firm option with exceptional support, your Ghost Bed will keep you cool and comfortable all night long. When you purchase a Ghost Bed mattress, your comfort is guaranteed. You can try out your mattress for 101 nights, risk-free, to make sure it's the right fit for you. Plus, they offer free shipping, and most items are shipped within 24 hours. If you're not sure which Ghost Bed is right for you, check out their mattress quiz. You'll answer a few questions and get a personalized recommendation. Even better, our listeners will get 10% off for a limited time. Just visit ghostbed.com/Cox and use code Cox at the checkout. That's ghostbed.com/Cox and use code Cox for 10% off site-wide.
And they're like, well, she's hot. I'm like, okay.
Stop.
Like, ain't nothing going to happen. Like, just take care of yourself, bro. Just make it happen. Go away.
Could you imagine every time your phone rings or you get a text, you're with your wife, you get that ding, that text. It's, oh my God. Is that, oh my God. I can't. Listen, I get that already with Jess, where I get a ding and she's like, who's that? And I'm like, I'm like, my girlfriend. And she's like, quit fucking around. I'm telling you, that's her. You want to see? No, I said, or I'll grab it and I'll be like, I'll look at it like, I'll go, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And she gets fucking crazy. You think you're playing. And I laugh and laugh. But that's the great thing is you have the joy of laughing and joking about it because I'm good. But if you're not good, it ain't funny.
I remember one time my wife asked me, she's like, have you ever thought about, I was like, sweetheart, you sleep next to me. Yeah. You know my bowel functions in the morning. Yeah. Like, ain't nothing pretty about that. Number two, like, my ass is in bed by 8. What do you think I'm going to go out and rage?
That's what I said. What do you think I'm doing?
Yeah.
Do you? Because I always joke around. I'm like, do you understand that, like, Jess thinks that when I walk, she thinks that women think I'm Brad Pitt. That when I walk out the front door, there are, like, the TikTok right where the guys, they're throwing underwear and screaming. And I'm like, ladies. I'm like, who do you think I am? Nobody's interested in this.
I just want to go to the gas station and just give me a minute.
And you're tracking my phone. You know exactly where I am. Yeah. I never leave the house. Yeah. What are you thinking? She's like, yeah, All
right. So what's for dinner? Let's start there. Honey. Yeah. Do you want to go to dinner? Shit. That's when, working with these cases, all I can think of, I'm like, what drove you to this point to like go seek this crazy shit? And it's usually older men are just like, hey man, I just want that thrill of fantasy. I'm like, dude, like at your age, you don't want to do that, pal. You don't want that. You don't want
potential heart attack.
Yeah,
That kind of thing could be.
dude, that woman's gonna give you a heart attack. Like, easy killer, easy. Then there's another one for email extortion, sextortion, where a buddy of mine got hit. And they had pictures of him, like a video of him jerking off.
What is wrong with people?
Well, no, so check this out. This is weird. Right? We'll call him D because he'll be fucking pissed if I told him.
Okay, because you know what this is recording.
Oh, absolutely,
okay.
yeah.
Fine,
So
fine.
D hits me up and he's like,
Is it David? No, I'm just joking.
David. Yeah, so he hits me up and he's like, hey. I was like, what's going on, man? And he's very monotone. He's like, I need your help. And I'm like... And so me and him, we talk all the time, but like when a friend calls you and is like, I need your help, I'm like, what the fuck did you do, dude? And he's like, I didn't even send you an email. I just need to know if it's real. I'm like, all right. So first the email is like XEZZF. And I'm just like, well, this is a Romanian, Chechnyan one. Okay. What site were you on, dude? And he's like, well, they emailed me and said, they have access to my computer. And I'm like, okay. And that, they have a recording of me jerking off, and they're gonna send it to everybody, including my wife and mother.
Do they have one? Why would they have one?
So my question was like, I was like, okay, so like there's porn sites and there's deliberate porn sites people go to, like, you know, some wild shit. I was like, D, I need your laptop, and I said, all right, I'm gonna ask you this, and you can say no, but is there anything that'll be construed as contraband? Because if that's the case, then that's a whole nother conversation. He's like, no. And he goes, I was like, all right, so you're just into some weird shit. He goes, cool.
Yeah, these are all adults.
These are all adults. That's
Okay.
the question I got to ask.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, cool. I just want to make sure because that's a whole, I can't help you out there.
No, I can't. Not only that, I can't even
Yeah.
be in a position where it's like,
Yeah. So, because I worked those cases before.
yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want no part of that, bro.
No.
So I look at his laptop and I'm like, well, there's this little icon. It's called Team Viewer, right? Team Viewer is like you can go to anybody's workstation. You just got to enter the code.
Yeah, you can control you get remote access and control of their computer.
Exactly. So there's Team Viewer, and I'm like, do you use Team Viewer? He's like, oh yeah, when I was doing this in chat, and I'm like, with who? And he's like, oh, I was trying to chat with this girl, and I was like, okay, D. Did they ask you for a code?
How do you not? You maintain complete professionalism, and you don't.
When it's game on, it's game on.
Yeah,
I'm just like, cool. I'm not going to judge you. I just want
I understand. I'd have a hard time. I'd be like,
absolutely.
what are you doing?
Oh,
What were you thinking?
afterwards, now that we go to dinners, I'm just like, remember that time you did this? So I was like, walk me through. So they gave you a code, and then something flashed, and then a naked person showed up. He's like, yeah. I was like, okay. So in Ukraine and Chechnya and Romania, they'll have these like studios, right? Little walk-in studios, and the sex worker will be live.
Mm-hmm.
But in the back end on the side, there's some dude on the computer, like kind of doing all the stuff for her, and he's getting his back end hooks to your computer. Okay. So now you have a session token, this code that says, hey, can I go to your computer? Right. So now the threat actor is in the computer. Now, while he's doing his thing, jerking off, watching this hot chick, he's getting all his information taken, like emails, different points of contact and stuff like that. So this email that came from a threat actor is like, if you don't pay me, it was a small amount. It was like, I don't know, like $2,000. And this guy, like, he does pretty well for himself.
Is that just typically just the first request?
That's the first request, because they're going to keep hitting you, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at this dude, like, you don't think he has a lot of money, but he does.
Right.
And so he's like, just pay him. I'm just like, don't do that. And I'm like, this is why you're here, because this is email number 2, right? And he goes, well, how do you know that? I'm like, because, dude, like, come on, I do this for a living. So he goes, all right. So he pays up, and he goes back again, and then they're like, pay up more. Now it's a $5,000 request. And he's like, well, fuck him, whatever. And I said, D, these guys are unscrewed. They will do this. And he's like, fucking let them. And I go,
Okay.
Good
for you, buddy. Let's kick back and watch this fucking the house burn down.
Oh, dude, it was beautiful. Because I love him so much. Like, I love him as a good friend. But when the opportunity to give him shit comes arise, oh, yeah, it's great. So I'm like, go ahead, D, let's hear you, buddy. So he's like, fuck him, whatever. I'm not doing this. So we go about our business. a week later, I get an email, and sure as shit, it's D right there jerking off. And I'm like, and I say, hey, man, like, I love you, bro, but I don't love you like that.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, like, you'll see that quite a bit where.
How
like,
many people did they send it to?
It was like a couple thousand.
What did the wife say?
Oh, the wife, she was pissed.
I can imagine.
She was like, what the fuck, Bubba? And then she called me. I'm like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
I told him to do these things. And she's like, you need to fix your friend. I'm like, that's your husband. Like, I can't do anything.
I have less control than you do.
So a lot of times you'll see like that was called like a hard extortion, sextortion, right? The other things that we would kind of see is there was one that went around for a while. So using Google Analytics, it's free, okay?
Mm-hmm.
A threat actor went to a specific porn site, was like, hey, this is interesting porn, right? And basically, this happened to a dear friend of mine. He was like, hey, I got this letter in the mail. I'm like, you got a letter in the mail, in the mail. And he's like, yeah, it was addressed to me. And he said, basically, this letter said, interesting choice of porn. We have your IP address, we have your address, and it's very questionable of the ages of these people. And I was like, oh. And they cite the porn, they cite it, whatever. The problem is they just this threat actor masked it to a section of houses, right?
Right.
And so now you have like the hysteria, and I'm like, and so,
and it's not like one neighbor is going to go to the next number. Did you get a letter?
Did you get this mail reader by chance?
This is crazy.
Reader's Digest. And so he goes, dude, I'm in, and he does a knee-jerk reaction. He changes his phone number. He changes the email address. I'm like, what? Oh, whoa, slow down. I'm like, hey, man, look, I get you watch. That's fine. I don't care. But like, if this causes this type of visceral reaction, like, what are you not telling me? And he's like, my wife cannot find out. And I'm like, okay.
About watching some.
Dude, so I guess that's a big issue for some people. I'm like, whatever, right? But dude, like, he's like, if my wife finds out, she's going to cut off my balls. I'm like, okay, cool. And he goes, so I started doing like, some digital forensics on the what's it called? Like, did an OCR, object character recognition. Like, I took the letter and I said, okay, let me see if I can find commonalities of this thing. And come to find out, this letter had been different change of name, different change of address, and it went across the United States to various men. And I was like, oh, this is a spraying attack.
First of all, to have the mail done like that, like, that's expensive.
Oh, yeah.
These guys have invested a considerable amount.
It's like 98 cents a letter.
Yeah,
I'm like,
what's the return on this? It's got to be nice. It's got to be good.
So I was like, this is not real, right? So I call my boys at OPDS and the sheriff office. I'm like, hey, you seen this? They're like, oh, yeah, we see that quite a bit. I was like, how much money was, man, like right about north of about $1 million was extorted from men? I was like, holy shit. And so that kind of preluded to the next thing that came, the next evolution. What they were doing, these threat actors, is on WhatsApp specifically, because WhatsApp, it's kind of an unregulated app, if you will. They were taking pictures of questionable age people and putting their face on naked people. And then they'll send them to you, right? And be like, well, you wanted this, and you have no clue who this person is. And I'm like, now pay me my money or whatever. And they're trying to leverage that as a point of extortion. And they're going to report it to the FBI or the Secret Service or whatever. But the problem with that premise is that they're trying to get you on CP charges, right? Child porn or whatever. The problem with that is that there has to be like this whole other dynamic to go with it, right? There has to be a process.
Yeah, you can't just send somebody a picture and say, hey, you asked for this, and here's the fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. So doing some digital forensics on the picture itself, we're able to find out where it came from, who published it, what was their name, what specific hard drive that they use, and which computer they use. Then we send it to their government, and then they shut them down real fucking quick. It was pretty fascinating. But that right there was another one coming about, and that was like a lot of money. That was upward north around $9 million of money being transferred. Like, hey, don't do this and don't do that. I'm like, wow.
It reminds me. You've heard of the Angola scam?
No, what's that one?
So it's funny because you've heard this.
Oh, maybe I have. Maybe I know.
He's like,
maybe
"What do you want from me?"
Yeah, maybe I recognize it once you start telling it, just the name.
It's funny because I had actually watched a documentary about the Angola scam, and then when I was locked up in prison, John Grisham wrote a book called The Brethren about 3 judges that were locked up in a camp who start running an identical scam. So the original scam, because obviously John Grisham book is fiction, but this is nonfiction, which would be the Angola scam. Was there were several people that were locked up in Angola State Prison, and obviously this is before the internet. They were putting ads in. It was called Out and About. I want to say it was Out and About. I think it was Out. It was basically a gay magazine. So let's say Out and About gay magazine, and they put an ad in saying that they were a young 20 or 21-year-old gay male, that was locked up in a 90-day drug rehab, looking for a pen pal, an older, mature man. So older gay men were writing letters, and it was going to a P.O. box, which they thought was like the
Distribution.
Well, they thought the P.O. box was for the what was the P.O. box for the drug rehab.
Gotcha.
But in reality, it was a P.O. box that had been opened up by, I believe, I don't know, by another co-defendant, let's say. So somebody on the street is getting the letters and then moving those letters to the inmates to read. Matter of fact, I'm almost positive it was a lawyer, because I remember the lawyer was able to bring the letters in for them. Because there was, obviously it was the lawyer, so his stuff wasn't scrutinized. So he was able to bring in these drug rehab, whatever, let's say, Tampa Bay drug rehab and then the fictitious person's name. He's able to give them the letters. These guys would read the letters, and then they would craft response letters, and they would include a photograph of a young man with like his shirt off, like good looking, blonde hair, blue eyed guy, whatever. So that was, the enticement, right? So now they mail it back to these older men, and within three or four letters, these guys are talking about, this 60-year-old guy, oh, I got married when I was young, and that was, I really never loved her. I have 2 kids. I now have a grandchild. And they would just really butcher their wives and their lives and their kids, and so they would get them writing. And once they had said enough derogatory things, and they realized that these guys had money, like if it was some guy who's like, hey, I'm living in a single wide, I'm a gay man living in a single wide trailer, I'm living off of a pension, he doesn't get another one. But there's some guy who says, hey, I own 2 retail diamond stores, I like to vacation in Europe, at least a month out of the year or whatever. They're like, okay, that's our guy. And so what happens is they then start writing the letters. Hey, I know who you are. So the person on the street typically would figure out make sure they were real names. Yeah. Some of these guys are skittish. But back then you were pretty open, right? Like you're not this is some kid. They really believe this is some guy, some 22-year-old or 21-year-old kid who's in a drug rehab, and he's going to be there for 90 days. So I can write him a little. I don't even have to see this kid. Yeah. He's trapped there for 90 days. So eventually, after a few letters, they figure out who the guy is. He's got money, and he's got something to lose. Yeah. Then they hit him with the letter. Hey, send me this much money. Oh, shit. Here's who you are. Here's what I know. I have copies of all your letters. Not only am I going to mail these to your house, but I'm going to mail these to all of your neighbors' houses on this street. Really blast. I'm going to mail them to your stores, to your office, to your, really these people realize right away, wow, I really fucked up. So here was the amazing thing about it, was that within about a year or so, they actually made like almost $1 million. And this was back in like the 1980s. I want to say this scam was done in the early 80s, maybe late 70s, early 80s. Yeah. And they made like almost $1 million. God, it was fucking amazing. And what was really amazing was here's how they get caught, by the way. One of the guys gets released. He gets released. He ends up, after just a few months, he ends up getting arrested for a murder, like a conspiracy to murder. He actually had there was some murder that he's involved in.
Oh wow!
And he tells the police, "Yeah, I know that I was involved in this murder, but guess what?
Surprise!
I know these guys in jail. I was doing it with them. It's kind of like they're robbing banks. How do you know? I'm driving the getaway car." So he sets them out, the whole thing, and we're working through a lawyer, the whole thing. So he ends up getting them all busted, and that's how it all kind of falls apart. Super interesting scam, but very much the same type of scam, only an electronic version of the same type of scam.
Faster.
And if you read the book The Brethren by John Grisham, which I recommend everybody read, because it's one of the few books I've ever read where there is not one person in the book that you could say is like the hero. Not one person in the book has one redeeming quality. There's nobody in the book that you're like, I kind of like Jimmy. Nobody. You don't like any of the judges. You don't like the lawyer. You don't like what ends up happening is in the book, real quick, is that one of the guys that they end up ensnaring in their scam ends up being a senator that is running for president. And the CIA is backing him. So they back him to become president. And in the course of this whole thing, as they're also watching him, they're like, there's no skeletons in his closet. No, his wife died a couple of years ago. He's a widower. He lives alone. Okay. But as they're watching him, they stumble upon the fact that he's been roped into this whole thing. Yeah. And they end up sending somebody like into the prison. It's a whole thing. It's great, but nobody is nice. You don't like any of these fuckers. They're all like, no redeeming qualities across the board. And yet it's a book that I've read 3 times.
Interesting.
Because it was so well put together and so amazing and maybe it's just because I'm a criminal, but everybody that I know that's ever read it has been like, fucking amazing, great book, right? Of course, I'm reading it from the perspective of a writer. Right. I'm like, did you notice that there's really no hero? There's no one person that you're following and they're like, well, you're kind of following the judges. I'm like, yeah, but the judges, is there anything that you like about them? They're like, oh no, they're horrible. And you're like, is there anybody you like? What about the president? No, he was a scumbag. What about the guy running for president?
Scumbag.
It's kind of a weasel. What about the CIA director? Oh, he was the worst, bro. Like everybody's a scumbag. Yeah. But it's the same thing. It was based on the Angola. And they talk about the Angola scam in the book. But it's very much just like we had talked, prior to this, is that all of these scams are like, there's no new scams. There's different. No. It's like
flavors.
Yeah, it's like you're adding in some tech.
I think the speed to do this, to carry out the scam, is the different factor here. Like you're right. There's blackmail, right? There's leverage,
right?
There's extortion, right? But like when you said it the best, there is nothing new. It's just like, how fast can we get in and out, right?
Even the Nigerian prince scam. Listen to the evolution of this. This is funny. Remember Zach? So when the Nigerian prince scam first started, it was, and can you look that up? What do they call it? They call it like a 308 scam or 419 scam, something. There's a name of it. You can put Nigerian prince scam. They have another. It's the Nigerian prince scam, but it's also known as
Nigerian 419 scammers.
419. Yeah, so that's the statute in Nigeria. I had heard that was I've heard 2 things. One was that's the area code, or the country code, but it's not. It ends up that I'm pretty sure it's the name of the statute that they prosecute anybody under for running this scam. As under fraud. That could be wrong too, though. This whole thing is, it's very convoluted. So point is that initially the Nigerian prince scam was that they initially were getting, it was strictly letters. Mm-hmm. They were massively mailing letters to people in the United States saying that from a law, it's always from a law firm. They represent the family of a Nigerian prince that is in line to receive money. Mm-hmm. So I'm a Nigerian prince. I'm a lawyer that represents a Nigerian prince that's in line to receive a bunch of money. His father recently died in a car bombing. And sometimes they'll include like the article or of the car bombing, whatever, just a photocopy of an article. And the king was killed. His barrister was killed. And you happen to have the same name as the barrister. Well, the barrister had access to the Nigerian king's wealth. Oh. I'm the prince. I represent the prince. He needs that money. The only person that has access to it is the barrister, which has your exact name. So if we would be willing to have you come and accept the money and keep 10% of it as long as you promise to send it to the prince, because it's really his money. But we'll give you 10% for helping us out because we don't know how else to do this. So it's kind of convoluted, but basically it's coincidental. You happen to have the same name as the person that has access. However, he's dead. And we want to do the right thing, and we'll pay you. And then what happens is if you're a sucker enough to believe in it, you write a letter back. Maybe there's a phone call eventually to this person who has a British accent. He's a lawyer. He promises everything's correct. And then just before the transfer is going to go through and they're going to send you $80 million, they need you to pay the Nigerian tax or transfer fee, and that consists of $2,200. Something.
Oh, there it is.
Right.
There's a rub, yeah.
So you pay the fee, of course, we give it to the bank. The bank then wires the $80 million or however much money it is. And people are so excited about the likelihood of spending this money that they actually wire whatever that fee is.
Yeah.
Okay. That started with letters sent to just random people in the United States. People responded. Some of those, so let's say 10% or 5% respond. After that, let's say 2% believe it. Then let's say, or I'm sorry, so out of the 5% that respond, half of that believe it. Then the other half of that actually, when they're asked for the money, send the money. So it's very little, right? It's very little, but they end up sending, And then sometimes they'll go back and hit them again. Oh my gosh, you also have to pay the late fee for the whatever, boom, this, or you have to pay our fee of, and they start, now that because if you get somebody once, you can typically get them again and again and again, because now they're all in and they want to believe it. So the point is, it started with letters. Then it moved to telephone calls, over the years. Then it moved to emails.
Yeah.
It's back to letters.
No way.
Yeah. My buddy Zach comes in here and he says, and he had a buddy that owned a roofing company. The guy who owned the roofing company got a letter, and several people have gotten letters. Other roofers are getting letters.
Roofers?
Yeah. From a lawyer or a barrister or a lawyer in the UK who represents someone in the whatever, that wasn't Nigeria, it was some, I don't know, whatever, some country in Africa or whatever. Somebody had died, they had money that was coming to them, and that person had the name of the roofer. Just by and so all we can send that to you. You'll get 10%. It's $15 million. You're going to make 10% of the 15 million, whatever, $1.5 million. We can do the whole thing. And it had a letter. It was a horrible letter, but it was supposedly from a law firm. But you could call the phone number. The guy would answer the phone. He had a British accent, Indian British accent.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And so you're talking to him, and he's not super professional. But you talk to the guy, and he's talking, and so we actually had Zach come and sit down and talk to us the whole thing. And while he's talking, I'm like, you don't understand, this is a Nigerian prince scam. He goes, what are you talking about? And I'm like,
dude, this is a whole pony.
He's like, what is that? And so by the way, he's a long time scammer.
Yeah.
In and out of prison. I'm like, what are you talking? How do you fucking not know this? I go through the whole thing, and he's like, oh, dude, fuck, man, I really thought that. Are you? I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I realized once he asked for the money, or I forget how it went down, where he was like, yeah, I was wondering, because the whole time I was like, no, he's giving me money. He's giving us money, because I'm telling the roofer, no, how is it a scam? He's going to give you the money. I'm telling him it's not a scam. I'm like, he's like, but then he asked for money. And I was like, and that's when I realized, right, how do you fucking not know that? So we actually called the guy on the phone. We got him, right? The whole thing was funny. The guy starts hanging up. Eventually, once he realizes
Yeah.
Because he's going back and forth, then eventually hangs up when he realizes that it's a scam. But it's funny too. He's like, "Hello, my friend. Are you excited about being the millionaire? You will have the money soon.
Yes,
you will be millions.
absolutely.
Just in the money." Yeah.
Got to play on that encouragement, right?
Yeah, it was, but it's funny how it did a full circle. It was letters, then it was phone calls, then it was emails. Now it's back to letters. Like it's the same. It's been going for fucking 60 years. It's like every 20 years it changes,
and then it goes cycles back. Same thing with credit card stuff, right?
Yeah,
Same thing. Started on the little card. Now it's going to go here. Digital credit card. Now people are like, I can't trust a digital. I need a credit card. I'm like, and we're back, everybody.
like, what are you doing?
It's the exact same shit, guys. You know?
Yeah, it's what's funny too is that it's like TV. It was television with commercials.
Yep.
Then it was subscriptions.
Yep.
Then it was subscriptions like HBO, and so then it turned to it was like HBO, and then it was streaming subscriptions. Now it's you pay a streaming. Then it was streaming prescription or subscription, and they hit you with a commercial. And now we're back to like Tubi. Yeah. It's just commercials. What the fuck? Like in the past 60 years, it's at a full loop.
You have to pay for no commercials, and you're like, how does this work?
Yeah. Or you have to pay for no. So it's a subscription.
Back to it.
It's
again.
like, well, what just happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
Full circle, everybody.
It's constantly. These things are constantly happening.
I think you're in the wrong business. You just try it that way.
What? Try.
You'd be like, just inundate your viewers with commercials.
We do.
we do.
Yeah. They complain all the time, and then I come back and I go, "Have you considered joining YouTube Premiere? Like you don't have to have any commercials." And they get angry, and then it's ridiculous. The commercials, or it's ridiculous. First of all, most of them don't care.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, you get somebody who's pissed that why am I having to watch any commercial? It's like, well, you go to work, like that's like your boss saying, I can't believe I have to keep stroking you these fucking checks every 2 weeks. Yeah. Like you're not working for free, bro. Like, what do you think I'm doing?
We
this
don't do
for?
this for free. Yeah.
Right.
No. Nothing worth doing is doing for free.
I mean, not that I don't love doing it, but I would have to do something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not how. Yeah. But yeah, people are. It's getting crazy.
I got a question. So what would you suggest for somebody who is in the middle of like one of these sextortion scams? Like they've sent compromising pictures, and they're asking for money. Like, what is a plan of action for like a solo individual?
You know what's funny is helping the victim never even occurred to me. So that's why he's here. See, because I don't. My mind is just.
Tough shit.
Not even thinking about those. I didn't even think about those poor guys. You're right. What's going on with them?
So I would always tell. I'm always about pause, right? This thing of pause, like, hey, stop. Like it's called tactical pause, especially in combat warfare. Like everyone's shooting at each other, and you're like, hey, stop for a second. Cool. Watch where the gunfire is at. Same premise applies here, right? What I would say is if you have somebody who's in the middle of it, getting extorted, stop for a second. Okay, where's the sector fire come from? Where are these emails come from? Text messages, identify that and say, okay, now reach out for help, right? Whether it's a teammate, whether it's you, whether it's me, whether it's police or whatever. But you have to look at the end goal. The end goal is money, right? And so at that point, you stop the hemorrhaging, bleeding. And the other part is going to be pick up the phone. Pick up the phone and be like, okay, Matt wants to see a picture of me. Perfect, no problem. I'm going to call you. Like, hey, are you sure you want this, man? Cool, no problem. That's what I will tell any woman or man who's in the middle of this. Pick up the phone, and if you can't get a direct line or somebody on the phone or FaceTime or whatever, you're probably getting scammed. That's what I'll have to tell them.
With extortion type of scams, have you seen the rise with AI voice capabilities, deepfakes, things like that? Ooh. Like, how real are those threats? Are they happening now, or is that still something that's kind of 5-10 years into the future? Do you see that at all?
I saw recently an uptick again of the kidnapping. The kidnapping is like they will dub my voiceover or my son's voiceover or whatever, and they'll be like, Dad, I've been kidnapped. I need you to send $20,000 right now at this address, blah, blah, blah. Look, I've been in some hostage negotiations before. I understand that's not a message you want to hear, but stop. Stop for the moment and be like, where are you? Let me call you back. It's gonna you can't move $1 million within 5 minutes. It's just not going to happen. If somebody's asking for $1 million, be like, okay, no problem. Let me call you right back. Let me get to the bank, right? Kind of set the stage, take control of the situation, take control of the narrative, and kind of like hold on, hang on for a second. I'm going to get you your money, but let me call you back. And then chances are when you call them back, they're going to be gone, right? So the other one is the CEO fraud. That's what I've been hearing quite a bit of too. Hey, Jan, I need you to wire me. I need you to wire Matt $5,000 right now. I don't give a shit what you're doing, but do it right now. I'm like, all right, no problem, Mr. CEO, and you're just doing it right. And it just doesn't, it's not a good idea.
I saw a TikTok or Instagram reel just the other day. This guy's like, it's a parody, but he's like, man, I didn't even know the CEO knew who I was, but he just emailed me asking me to send him $2,000 in Apple Pay gift cards. Yeah. He's like, I can't believe it. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. So, and if you really think about it, if your CEO or if Matt calls me up and is not asking for like a formal wire transfer, like, hey, I need your bank account information, whatever, and it wants you to go immediately right now to Walgreens and to get vanilla Visa cards prepaid, you might have a fucking problem.
Yeah. The IRS says that you owe them $5,000 and they tell you, stay on the phone while you drive to Walmart and get like, what?
Just go to the microwave. Just go to the microwave. Have you seen that one?
No.
Oh, dude, it's great. The guy's like, okay, I'm at the ATM. And he's like, beep, beep, and punches the microwave. And the guy's like, okay, how much? He's like, 2 minutes? And the guy's like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, 2 minutes till the meal's done, right? Oh, it's fucking hilarious. That's how I'll roll it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always shocked by the people that fall for it, but people do fall for it over and over and over again.
It's a new twist. Remember, the threat actors, much like Tony Robbins, love him to death, right? 3 things, right? Pain, fear, and pleasure. I inflict enough pain, I inflict enough fear, and the pleasure is this, right? Just like sales. Sales, like, if you don't do these things now, fire sale, right?
Yeah, I can only imagine once you have these people that where you can act, where it gets better and better, where you can do a Zoom call and you look just like, because there was I work. I'm supposed to say with. I work with a company called Home Title Lock.
Okay,
and they protect people from title theft, and so So people will send me stuff. Well, in general, and I always send it to them. Like people will send me, say, "Hey, have you seen this?" And somebody sent me the other day where there was a woman, because you can do closings, remote closings, right? Where you send them a copy of your driver's license, and then they see it, and then as long as they look at the driver's license, and then they see you on Zoom, and they go, "Hi, you Matthew Cox?" "Yes, I'm Matthew Cox." "Well, they have a copy of my driver's license." So, and they look and they go, "Okay, perfect." And then they'll notarize the documents for me. Like if I say I sign the documents, they go ahead and notarize them. And so there was one recently where it was an older woman and they were doing a closing and it was a remote, and it just so happened that nobody else noticed this except for the closing agent, that the woman was kind of
floating.
Just kind of doing the little floating bouncy kind of thing, and then she would ask her a question, "Miss Johnson, is it, or you are Mrs. Thomas Johnson or whatever?" And she'd go, "Yes, I'm Mrs. Johnson."
Oh.
And she's
Not
like,
even blinking.
she was like, but it was just that when she wasn't talking, she was doing this kind of bumping.
Bouncing.
Yeah, bouncing, and so she was like, Miss, and she said, and there was just such a delay on anything I asked her, and the responses were not the response of an older woman. So it, you have to think this is an Indian man trying to be, and keep in mind too, they're doing many of these a day, trying to get one to go through. So they're not. First of all, the tech's not great yet.
No.
And so their confidence isn't great. There's a language barrier, and they're trying to get this to go as fast as possible. Why? Because I need this money. I need this money. I need this money. I need one of these. And if this one doesn't work, I've got another one I'm supposed to try and do. So I got to get that one. And these things are taking too long, and none of them are going through. And they're frustrated, and they say stupid shit, and they respond badly. And anyway, eventually this woman was like, "Okay, Miss Johnson, something's wrong here. Are you?" And she started asking her more and more questions, and realized the delay. And then, of course, the real estate agent's like, what's the problem? There's no problem. What are you saying? There's a problem. There is a problem. And then she's like, look at her. She's this, she's that. And then they're like, "Miss Johnson, have you ever met her in person?" "Well, no. It was you see him?" "So no, I haven't, but I got access to the house, and no, This isn't. Turns out there was a real Miss Johnson or whatever her name was, but this was not her. And the house was a rental, and whatever that it broke down once they looked into it. But nobody really looked into it that much because the tech seemed good enough, and nobody's looking. Typically, I noticed that during normal transactions, people are not looking for fraud. I've always noticed that when I would go into a bank or I would provide documents to somebody, they don't want to find fraud.
It's got to be transaction.
They want the transaction to go through. Of course, they're going to make a check for $3,000 or $5,500, or especially if you're a broker or you're somebody who's going to make money. I want it to make sense.
Yeah.
And so you don't ask that many questions, especially if the documents look great. And then even if they're questionable, I ask, like, well, I don't understand this and this. And then if you give me the right response, it's like,
perfect.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Well, they had a good explanation. Was it?
Was it?
In retrospect, shouldn't you have called maybe? Picked up the phone?
Verify some documents there.
Right. So I can only imagine as things get better.
The one thing I'm noticing with I saw this from a human resources person, because artificial intelligence is huge, especially in the interview space. And so when I interview somebody, I'll send somebody to go do it. She'll be like, okay, cool. Can you give a piece of paper for me and just wave it in front of your face? And at that point, the AI engine doesn't know what to do. And they're like, oh, and so you'll see a huge delay. And they're like, all right, thank you for your time. Bye. So I mean, there's things there's a human factor that can still work a little bit. But I think as artificial intelligence increases more and more, we're going to see this run rampant.
Did I tell you what happened? I'm sorry, this is just funny. I had I didn't actually have an accident. Bosiak had an accident. And when I called to talk to the adjuster and we were going through the process, when I finally got a phone call from the final adjuster and he was asking me questions, I shit you not, he was so monotone, I thought it was AI. And I go, as he's going through the prompts and this, and I said, is this a bot? And he goes,
what?
I'm sorry.
Oh, shit.
And it was like, I'm sorry, can you say that again? And it was that kind of a response. I'm sorry, can you say that again? I go, is this a bot? Is this like an AI bot? I'm sorry? He said, I don't understand the question.
Yeah, it's a
and I went, I said, bro, are you an AI bot? You sound like a bot. You're very monotone. And he goes, oh my God. He said, no, I'm not a bot. And then he starts talking to me. And I said, bro, you sound so fucking monotone. He's like, man, I've been doing this job for fucking 20 years. And he's like, I'm sorry. He said, that is hilarious, though. And he starts talking to me. And I realized then, like, he's not. But even when after that interaction was done, back to the bot mode. All right, well, if you such and such. He just went through the motions. I was like, bro, this is fucking terrifying. Like, it's a real person. You sound like a bot.
That's the best, man, I think. If you can't delineate him, I would hire that guy for sure.
He was awesome.
Just run my screening calls, man. Appreciate you.
So what else have we got? What else is going on?
So this LA-based law firm, right, hit me up and was like, hey, we got taken for $4 million. I'm like, oh, okay. And one thing is, like, working in the legal field, I have no love for any lawyer.
Yeah, I was going to say, so a lawyer got fucked for a change instead of a lawyer fucking somebody.
Exactly. So I was like, all right, well, let's walk it through here. Let's talk about it. And they're like, well, we just noted we logged into our account and $4 million is gone. I'm like, okay, we got that part, but like, what led up to it? And they go, okay, well, the only person who has access to it is the front desk person and the CFO. I'm like, okay.
The front desk person? You mean?
And I go, oh,
you mean the receptionist?
Yeah. And
he's fucking her.
Yeah, no. Surprise!
It's crazy.
This poor old lady, she was just like, I just processed the invoices, and I'm like, okay, all right. So I come to find out that they got phished. That means, an email went out. Somebody got their credentials, and this older lady, unfortunately, just got all the credentials taken, right? This is where the cyber hygiene comes into place, right? She was part of an administrative group. Like, she was an admin for the whole entire environment. They got in there, and they're like, hey, we're going to go ahead and create this forward redirect email. That means when you get an email, it goes to another folder. And they just did it very subtly, like a rule. Nobody pays attention to that, right? If you get an email, if you miss my email, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, Rick, I missed that, right? But you might want to look in the forwarding area, right? So starts going there. Now the threat actor starts getting these emails like, hey, this invoice, right? They were able to get the account information invoice. Now they were able to change
The wiring instructions.
the wiring instructions, right? So at that point, they were like, hey, let's go ahead and do this. And they did this over 8 months. And I'm like, how do you not notice?
How does someone not,
Yeah.
how do the people that are supposed to be getting the wires not say, hey,
Right.
I didn't get my wire.
Yeah, exactly.
You owe me $4,200 and I didn't get last month and I didn't get it.
Exactly. So unfortunately, the older lady up front got hung out to dry, and they're like, you're fired. I'm like, that's the wrong answer, man. Come on.
Could have happened to anybody.
Exactly. And just that didn't settle too well with me. And they called us and they're like, you need to get our money back. I'm like, buddy, that money is long gone.
Listen. You give me $1 million, I'll give you that money. I'll get you that money back.
Reverse extortion.
I mean, they're prone to be screwed.
Yeah.
We know that. I already know
Let
it's
me do
soccer.
you a favor
Yeah.
here. As my father would say, you're a fool for not letting people part with their money. Yeah. So we got on there, and then it was good timing though, because we were able to see that the wire transfer and also the space in the Swift account, right? I was like, all right, so let's take a look here. We called the bank and we're like, hey, we just saw a $2 million wire leave in the last 2 days. Can you put a couple $1 million, can you put a freeze on that? So they we filed this thing called a SSR, right? Suspicious Activity Report. I'm pretty sure you already know that.
I've had one filed.
A few, right?
I've only had one.
One?
One.
All right.
And the whole well, it was because I removed 29,000. I asked for 29,000 in cash one time, and they gave it to me in cash. And I knew they were going to fill out the form, and they told me they were. And that's fine.
They asked you what it was for. I'm like, what are you doing here for?
Oh yeah, but the big thing was that they were like when I'm filling out the form, like keep in mind it's not in mine. Like I don't care.
Yeah,
that's what always kills me about that form. Like I don't care. Audit me. I'm gone. Like. Yeah.
That's part of that KYC process, right? Know your customer.
Yeah.
Or the DDD or whatever it is.
They filled out that, and they filled out is it CTR cash transaction? Cash transaction. They filled out both of them. It's the only I know because when I talked to the FBI, they were like,
"We got this.
You removed this much money. You only had these two things filed on you one time." I was like, I'm good.
Bad for 100 here, guys.
Right.
Come on.
I knew when I walked in the bank, they're going to ask me.
Oh, what excuse did you give them?
Oh, I was cashing checks for I worked for a labor company, and the guys that we give them checks, they're basically they don't have bank accounts. These are guys that are they're Mexicans or they're whatever. This is 20 years ago.
Yeah,
so
I know exactly what you're talking
and
about.
I was like, so I cashed their checks for them because otherwise they go to the check cashing places.
Get 13,
and I was like,
14%.
yeah, I said it's ridiculous. And I know the checks are good. I said, I'm just trying to take care of my employees.
Yeah,
and they're like,
so noble.
They were like.
All right.
The guy knew. Now he wasn't like all right. He was like, he's just everything I told him was like, fucking know something's wrong. Know something wrong, and he knew the whole time. You've never heard?
I heard. I know. I saw that one.
That story. Yeah, he leaves, and finally when he comes out and he has to give me the money, and he gives me the money, and I'm leaving. He's like, I feel very apprehensive about this. I was like, really? What is it?
Yeah, tell me about it.
I'm like, it's like shoving. I remember too what an idiot I was. Like shoving money. I must have just looked like a savage. Like,
you look like the role.
And he knew.
But you couldn't do shit about it.
No.
Gotta love banking, man.
And I feel bad for him.
Well, that guy?
No, I don't feel bad for anybody.
Bankers and lawyers.
So what happened?
That one, we were actually able to recover about $2 million.
Nice, because it hadn't cleared.
It hadn't cleared. That's the only saving grace. The other $2 million was tumbled. It was tumbled, and what I mean by that is
it went here and then went here and here and here
and
here, and
so
just gone.
So I don't know if you saw the recently, like Bitcoin or Coinbase, all the e-wallets that got compromised.
Right.
Okay, so threat actors now are like, oh, there's a bunch of wallets that are just open. So these are good staging points. Great for money laundering, right? So they'll say, hey, I'll put $1 million here. I'll filter it. And then you have all these nexuses of webs of different e-wallets. And they're like, here's money. And then it starts getting funneled, right? And then that's when the cell phones come in place. Like, all right, cool. Venmo me this. Going to promise. Shut it down. Re-engage the SIM. And they start money laundering in that way. So it goes really, really quick, really, really fast too.
So by the time that you guys were onto it, it was gone.
Yeah, that was $2 million was gone. $4 million total. $2 million was recovered, but that was only from banking administration safeguards. That's it. This was an interesting one when it came to the Phoenix-based therapist. I felt kind of bad about this. So this lady had a solo practice. Let's just say $200,000 a year in billable. Nothing big, right? She was so nice. And it was interesting. So they were able to kind of scrape her environment via a web portal. A web portal is like a patient portal, right? Like you go on there, kind of what we're talking about. She had her own custom one done. And the good thing is you have your own one, but the bad thing is you have to continue security around it.
Right.
She didn't do that. So it was just this database just in her room with a web application. And so they got in and they were able to gain access, and they're like, hey, we want money and we want naked photos. And I don't know, something was really off about this one. Like the lady was so nice. I'm like, why would you send naked photos? She's like, they told me I had to. I'm like, oh, and she was a nice old little lady, and she's like, I did that. I'm like, you send naked photos and money? So unfortunately, like the FBI showed up, and the weird part is the FBI could give two shits less. They're like, all right, whatever. What do you want us to do, right? And that's kind of a shitty answer. We were able to find it out that there were Indian farmers, right? Indian hacking farm, but like they got the money, they got the thing, and they just went away and never came back. Good pace, bad case, right? Like,
all right.
But
you don't want them to come back, right?
Yeah,
I thought
exactly.
you wanted them to go away. Right?
We do, but at the same aspect, like I felt really bad. I was talking to my partner. I was like, hey, dude, like, what do we got to do for her? He's like, dude, identity theft. That's the best thing you can do at this point. She actually wound up closing up her shop. She was like, it was a lot of money for her. It was $10,000, and I'm like, yes, ma'am, we understand. But she's like, I don't want to be in this anymore. I'm out. She retired, and I was like, all right, well, I guess that's it. Yeah. It was a sad one, but it's true, and that happens a lot. And I'm noticing a lot of behavioral health and mental health providers are being targeted.
If you pay ransomware, do you get to claim that on your taxes as a loss?
Pay the ransom? Probably.
Well, I mean, she paid
Yeah.
$10,000. Does she have to now
And
pay
damages? Yeah.
Does she have to? Can she say, "Hey, I lost $10,000 in
Oh,
damages"?
absolutely.
So I don't want to pay. I don't want because you're going to hit me again. Now I got to pay an extra $3 or $4 grand to IRS.
I would imagine it's like tornado damage, right? Like when a tornado goes through Tennessee and it hits a house. Like, hey,
Okay.
hey, you know.
I mean, I'm willing to try, you know, but I mean, I wonder if the IRS is going to come back in 3
You
years.
have to be in the
and say,
zones. Sorry, pal.
what you were thinking.
I think if it's a damage, then yeah, absolutely. I think so.
These are a lot of Indian guys.
Indian, a lot of South American I'm starting to see now come up.
Okay.
Yeah, like in Venezuela, Colombia, Mexico. Mexico because it's cartel fed. Like they have the cartel needs to spread their money. So they have now that you have I don't know if you've seen the Chinese town in India or in Mexico. Have you seen that one? So in the southern part of Tijuana over there, and also certain parts of Mexico, there are full-blown Chinese towns. And they're bringing in threat actors. They're scamming and whatnot. And so they're doing it on behalf of the cartel. So they'll send up these farms, these call centers, where their job is to go scam the elderly. And that's the god awful. That kind of like pisses me off a lot. Like that really pisses me off because like you're specifically targeting people who just want to live their life out. They just don't want to be fucked with. And then these narcos, these guerrillas, these cartels are like, okay, cool, Rico's 98 years old. Let's go and assume his identity, steal his home, blah, blah, blah. And then the old man's out, right? Soon.
And why are they doing this? Because drug dealing is not as profitable. There's too much issue. Like they're branching out into different, because I know that they're doing more and more human trafficking.
Yeah, so they're branching out in different areas, right? So drone warfare is one. Intelligence, providing their own cell phone towers is another big one they have. And then also capitalizing on, what's that damn thing? Not Stuxnet, but there's I forget, it slips my mind. But basically it's a phone that you can listen to them at any given time. So they have their own cell phones, and then it's compromised cell phones they hand it to politicians and whatnot and local police officers. So they're expanding different areas.
Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Also, we're going to leave all of Ricoh's social media contacts and his website in the description box. Once again, thank you very much for watching. Please share the video. Please consider joining our Patreon. It's $10 a month, and it really does help Colby and I make videos just like this. See ya.